Hello, Fightful Faithful. Welcome to the post AEW Revolution after party with me and Miss Kate Fabe, Kate Elizabeth. Sean Rossap was at the event. Denise Salcedo at the event. Most of Grapsody at the event. We had to stay home so we could do this post show for you guys, for all you people. And it was amazingly a great show. Kate, how are you doing?
I'm doing so well, and there's so many reasons I'm doing so well with what this pay-per-view gave us. Considering what a stacked card it was, I can't think of something that I felt like should have been or really could have been eliminated. And we just got all of the right surprises and some really great booking tonight. Some surprises booking wise to my delay. I did not think Eddie Kingston was going to win. I was hoping he was going to. Things like that where they just give fans what they want so often. I'm absolutely thrilled with how tonight went. And man, these quarterly pay-per-views, and this card felt like it was getting kind of thrown together last minute. It did not feel that way tonight. So just really, really incredible. I'm so thrilled with what we got out of tonight's pro wrestling show. And the things that continue to impress me about this are the differentiation in each type of match we get. Like every story is so different, and it just makes for such an entertaining night.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we'll delve into this more, but we have a very specific first super chat that must be read. Stephen Bohachik says, before anything else, we did an Alex-based preview of Regal saying the words. Now he can't say the things he used to say because that's copyrighted to the other place, but he can say blood and guts, which is how he's going to say it every now. War Games has now become blood and guts, which is how he's going to say it every time. Because if you didn't know, kids, William Regal showed up, and we'll talk all about it. It's like 3 hours from now on the post show because there's so many things, Kate. There's so many things have happened, Kate. We'll talk more about it.
Before we get rolling down the mountain, we do just want to ask you to get in those super chats if you can. Yes. We're sure there's going to be a lot of them. Subscribe to Fightful Select if you guys haven't already. You guys are so incredible. We reached over 6,000 followers last month, and oftentimes that number falls off a cliff at the beginning of the month because credit cards go inactive and all sorts of things, but we're already back over that 6,000 mark and cleared it pretty well. So you guys are so incredible with your support. Sean has more and more scoops coming out of AEW. I'm sure we're going to find out more about what's going on with William Regal and what his involvement is going to be. They broke the news earlier on Fightful Select about Swerve Scott. I think that was a non-surprise surprise. That was really wonderful to see tonight, but more and more breaking news over at Select. And when I asked Sean if there was anything specific he wanted us to push, he said, no, just tell them all I'm getting the scoops. So that's what he's doing, you guys. He's getting the scoops for you. Also, if you could so kindly, please leave a thumbs up on this video. It helps people find us in the algorithm. And please take it easy on our mods tonight. I know there's going to be a ton of chats coming in. Such an exciting pay-per-view. Also, there's a couple of people already super chatting. I got bit by my dog, which is what's going on here. I'm distracted by it. If you are, getting injured for your dog sucks, and we're glad you're on the Fightful Squad. I am so glad I'm on the Fightful Squad too. And if you were in any of the past 2 days of content that Alex and I have been doing, we have kind of settled on the backstory that this isn't a dog bite. It is from a bear. So I was fighting bears. It was a great card. Me taking down bears is a little bit bigger of a story, but that can take a back seat for tonight.
I still like the original backstory I gave you that you are the world champion knife kisser.
I know. It was a training injury. But you know what? It's about drive. It's about power. If you're going to be the knife kissing champion of the world, it's already risky enough in a pandemic. You know what I mean? To be a knife kissing champion. And then this is what happens when you train. So.
Yeah. Guys, and if you do subscribe to Fightful Select, not only do you get all the scoops, but you get me talking about Raw and SmackDown every week. And then also occasionally, Kate and I might do something ridiculous like review Corey and Carmella in character, and then wait around for the big surprise at MSG, which happens to be Austin Theory. So it's not a surprise. It's a giant letdown. And then we'll speculate on what ROH is going to be under the auspices of Tony Khan. Then we'll fully preview Revolution. By the way, I got a whole bunch of things right. And so if you were betting on DraftKings via this guy, you came out ahead tonight. Also, we decided to delve into the world of Control Your Narrative last night and had a lot of fun narrativing our narrative. So, yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff that we do over there. So please do subscribe and hang out with us. But tonight, it's all about Revolution, Kate.
It's all about the boom, and it's all about Revolution. We love it. I guess we'll start with the pre-show. I don't want to dig in too heavily, but I don't think we need to go match by match for this. But I thought Layla and Chris Statlander was absolutely fantastic. The women's division is growing. I kind of feel like this was the best women's match on the card tonight, weirdly. So it was kind of a bummer to me that it was on the buy-in, but a really, really great showing from both of them. Hook, of course, rules. We already know that. Get in your Hooker chats if you want to talk about Hook. And I thought the match with House of Black and was just so fantastically done. I guess Redbeard is very, very over from what the tweets that I had seen. Like, he got a very, very warm reception, which was cool to see. Some really, really cool spots in that. Brody King, his chops. I equated it to when you would go to Yankee Stadium and you would hear Mariano Rivera warming up in the bullpen, you could hear the pop echo across Yankee Stadium. Brody King's chops, it's the same thing. I remember at ROH, I can't remember. I think it was against Jay Lethal. It was at Best in the World pay-per-view. You can hear those chops like 60 miles away, and we got a lot of that. Really cool destroyer spot from Penta. His gear looked absolutely amazing tonight. I thought that match was fantastic, and it kind of surprised me. I thought it was a really, really fun match that felt pay-per-view quality and not just like we're getting hyped. Some really, really good storytelling around that, and very nice to see everybody get a chance to shine, and just so nice to see Buddy Matthews back in the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, we have to read the super chat from Nick. $100. Thank you. What an amazing donation.
Thank you so much.
It really helps us out because we are entirely publicly funded on Fightful. Like, this is how we pay everybody. So thank you guys so much for these. Kate is the best bear fighter ever. It's true. I don't know if you've actually seen. She's got fantastic technique.
I try not to talk about it because I try to stay humble, but like you sending in that $100, it helps with stuff like this, because when you're a knife kissing champion and you're fighting bears, like it's a lot. You're putting yourself in a physical risk a lot. So thank you for sending that super chat, and we appreciate it.
So my thoughts on the pre-show, Hook is ridiculously over. He's an absolute sensation, and I don't know what you do with him, because you cannot wait too long to make him a major part of your programming. And also, I don't know what you do with a guy like this. Like, can you put a title belt on him? Like, is it what? It's an amazing problem to have, that you have a guy who is too much of a crazy sensation. And also like this, he's just totally unique and very different and super over and charismatic. And I don't know exactly how you work with. My thing that I would do is, I keep saying Ricky Starks getting jealous.
Yes.
And do that feud for the FTW championship. And if you put the FTW belt on him and he defends that belt every week on Rampage, like, these matches that he has against people are for the FTW belt. And it's his dad who's running him, who's like managing him. I think that's the best way to do that, at least for the next 6 months to a year, before we can see where he can go beyond that. But I think that's a really great way of doing it. Also, I was shocked myself that I was right about Layla Hirsch winning the match. predicted that correctly. If you were betting on DraftKings for this guy, again, made money. I'm now that AEW is basically a DraftKings affiliate, I'm gonna become like those old guys who would like give you the this is my lock of the week and have a giant lock prop. Shoe in of the week, and I just have like a big giant shoe. But I thought it was great that they kept Layla very heel in the match, even though like that one ridiculous promo from Statlander made it look like, well, I guess Statlander's the heel now because she says that Layla should have been abandoned. And then, as you said, the trios match was all kinds of fun. Redbeard is super over. There is a much larger than we like to think or even recognize contingent of wrestling fans for whom the Wyatt family, like circa 2013, 2014, is the pinnacle of wrestling. Like just like that kind of thing. And to him being associated with that, also his connection to Brody Lee and the passing of him, part of AEW, there's going to be a major groundswell of support for Eric, former Rowan, now Redbeard, whenever he shows up, wherever he shows up. I think that he could run some of the indies for a while if he doesn't actually get signed by AEW. He looked great. Brody King looked fantastic. I really loved that it took everybody hitting major moves on Redbeard to win the match.
Yes.
Would have loved to have seen more shine given to Buddy Matthews. I think he took a lot of stuff in this match. I need to see him, like, if he starts like having singles matches on Dark and Elevation, like those will be willing to big time to tune in for those things. But I'd love to see him have more shine in the next few weeks because now that he's on the roster, I need him to be treated with the kind of respect he wasn't treated with when he was on the main roster in WWE.
Having a flirtation with Rey Mysterio's daughter. Yeah,
maybe not. Yeah.
Got weird. Agree with you entirely about Hook. I've been thinking the FTW belt with Starks is perfect for two reasons. One, I don't think you want to put him in a title picture right now as far as what's available to you. And a kind of fake championship while he's still being raised in a sense is perfect. And I also think it's time for Starks to move on to TNT picture type stuff, or at least that level of programming. He's so great. He's just so great. I also want to call out a spot that I forgot in my notes. I loved that the first thing Penta did in this match was go after Buddy Matthews' eye. What a fantastic piece of storytelling that is, to go after the eye, like, while half of Malachi's black face is been taken over by it. Fantastic stuff. So the buy-in does not feel like a throwaway, that's for sure. It's like this one felt really, really strong. I really liked all three matches. I thought it was sequenced properly. I think Chris Statlander, since coming back from injury, I feel like I say it ad nauseum, but what an incredible jump she has made in her in-ring ability since she's been back. Just fantastic. And I really hope that, if it is Rosa that's next, that Chris maybe gets a feud with her or she gets one against whoever Jade ends up dropping to, because she has just been so great since her return. I'm so happy for her.
Yeah.
And Layla's fantastic too. Don't get me wrong. Like
Layla's great. I think it was the right move to have her win, particularly because we saw. We'll talk about it later. What she's going to be doing in the very near future. I think that's a really cool shout for her. I love me some Sova says Hook is a baby face. Changed my mind. He's going to always be cheered. He's one of those guys. But I don't know about. I think Starks turning on Team Taz because he's jealous that Taz is, treating his son better than he's treating Ricky, which would make, Ricky the heel there. I think that'll work. Brent Lockman says more metal goodness, Amon Ra, the House of Black, and freaking cattle decapitation from Redbeard in the same 10 minutes. I love the three of them entering. Like, that weirdo friggin' mask that Buddy is wearing during the entrance. God, they're just so cool together. That's
what it is. I feel like a lot of those gimmicks feel very forced. Like things that are like half in one world and half in the other. It almost feels like you want them to commit to one world or the other. This just does not. This has felt badass since the second Malachi Black has walked in there, and I have loved virtually everything that they've done with this so far. Yeah. I'm so in on
it. Nick says that Chris Statlander needs the TBS belt next. I'll tell you what, of all the people on the current roster, I think she's got the best shot at it because she's big, powerful, and a baby face. There's a lot of people I think could give Jade a run for their money, but I think that she's probably of the current roster. Yeah. I do think the person who takes it from Jade is a major surprise and a new signing. Like that's why I keep thinking it's going to be Athena.
Either Athena or a certain wild child of the 80s, I think is probably who's coming in. I really do. I think it'll be one of the two of them. But you're right in that the current roster, I think, other than Rosa, Chris, and Ruby. I mean, Ruby is a very over face in that division. But she right now doesn't need a belt, I don't think. I think Chris could really get some help from a title reign.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. We have all kinds of super and humper chats that I'm going to read through here before we get to the main card. Continuing our saga that has been going on Tuesday nights for our post NXT show, where JW Pringle and Kate's father have a nice back and forth. JW Pringle says, "Undefeated, tall Paul Elizabeth, hope you're well." It's just nice pleasantries to exchange between two gentlemen of the highest order. We also had Seamus Dunn. Says, "Greetings to the dream team of Alex and Kate from Melbourne, Australia." Or wait, it's not Melbourne. It's Melbourne. That's something I learned. It's Melbourne, Australia. Say Melbourne.
You're so cultured.
Really entertaining show. Love how they have booked Wardlow. Bravo to TK and the team. Give me Ali versus Buddy Matthews 2 in AEW, please.
A dream.
Oh, I just fainted a little bit. And then Ben Dixon says that your cut wasn't even from a bear, though. It was from Regal slapping Kate to calm her down after beating up multiple bears.
How did you know? See, I talked to Regal and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this thing with Mox and Danielson after I calm you down from this bear attack." So I had the scoop, and it wasn't from Sean; it was from Regal himself.
Yeah.
You guys are so good. So thank you.
Nightcrack says it looks like Kate got rear viewed by Nikita Lyons. Hello.
I'm living every man's dream. Sorry.
And Gary Sarver says that you got the Fightful Select just for you and me, Kate. Thank you, Gary.
You so much. You have no idea. Like, whenever I hear stuff like that, I can't believe I get to do this and get paid for it. Like, it's the absolute best. And it's so much you guys. Like, dealing with this, no joke, because I can't really wear makeup right now. It's a very vulnerable thing to like come on here with a scar, and it feels so good to know that like our amazing moderators like kick assholes out, and that I get to do this with Alex, who makes me feel so at home every time I'm here. Like it was hard to like get back on screen with this going on, but like knowing that we get to have this incredible community and that I'm safe in it has made a really, really big difference. It just made me so damn happy that we get to do this, especially tonight. Jeez.
Yes. Oscar Villanueva says, Kalex doing post-show. Is this the cherry on top coming from a fantastic pay-per-view? Please do 4 hours. Well, I don't know if we'll do the full 4, but you never know.
I gotta go to bed at some point. Alex gets an extra hour because he's on Central Time.
It's a school night, for heaven's sakes. Harry Izawa.
Forget it. Let's go till 4:30 in the morning. I don't give a shit. This is so fun.
Harry Izawa says the pay-per-view is what stupendous really means and where the word should be used. I love you two to infinity and beyond. Go kicks ass on this review. We sure shall. Elise Roselle says, I have to super chat and run, but considering how much happened tonight, I expect to wake up in a few hours and see you two still breaking the show down.
She is my friend from high school, actually, and she knows me very, very well. And even the slightest whiff of Team Kalex, she knows will go a long time. But she's known what a talker I am for quite some time.
And C. Romero says, Team Kalex reviewing Revolution. Tears of joy. Hard to pick a match of the night, but it has to be Punk versus MJF. Storytelling at its finest. Regal? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we have a whole bunch more, but I'm gonna get into the first match. Maybe in between matches we'll go back and get a few that of you guys telling us how awesome we are.
Yeah. We'll call those the ego boost chats.
Yeah. We started with Chris Jericho versus Eddie Kingston, which is not where I thought this match was going to go.
Me either.
It seemed like, honestly, like this would be maybe the second least possible opener, like behind the tornado tag, 6-man tag, because I felt like that was going to be a crazy thing near the end of the night, which it ended up being. But
I kind of assumed the dog collar match wouldn't go on first too, just because it's like bloody.
But I thought like if they realize that it is going to be impossible to top, then you don't want it to go anywhere near the main. You know what I mean? Like maybe it was that kind of a thing. Also, if they wanted to, if there was something in the storytelling that made it important that Wardlow hadn't yet won the ladder match, then maybe you'd want to have this first, whatever, that first. But anyway, Jericho versus Kingston. Jericho, the song is over, not Chris Jericho. That's where we're at now. They love singing the song, but he no-sold it.
Yes.
Which
I love.
Which is good. And then at one point he just walks around flipping off the entire crowd, just giving him the old Steve Austin to the entire crowd. He's fully working heel now, which fair play. I did not think he was going to go and do. But I love that Kingston immediately hit him with a half and half to start the thing that I thought killed Chris Jericho. Like Jericho took that literally on the top of his head. These guys were throwing bombs the entire match.
The suplex. Oh my
suplexes
God.
were crazy. Both of them took disgusting head and neck bumps off suplexes. And the story going into this, we talked about this last night, Kate, was that Eddie Kingston appeared to be in this storyline maybe forever of can't win the big one. When is he going to win the big one? I mean, once he wins the big one, that's no longer your storyline with him. You have to move on to something else. So I thought, honestly, that they weren't going to have him win the big one here because the big one was coming down later when it was a bigger one to win. But that being said, so super glad that Eddie Kingston won this match, Kate. Eddie Kingston won this match.
By submission.
He tapped Chris Jericho out with the stretch plum, which I had not seen being used by anybody in a really long time. And the big thing was that afterwards, he was like, hold on, are you sure? He's like asking Aubrey, are you sure that he tapped out? Because that doesn't make any sense. I never win the big one, was basically his thing. And then he quieted the crowd and said, Chris, I respect you. Give me your hand. And Chris didn't shake his hand and walked away.
Honor is real, Chris.
Everyone, that was a big deal. Everyone was shaking hands tonight. That was a big thing. Like, so they're bringing that back, which is interesting. But I feel like Chris saying no and walking away could be the beginning of like the drop off from one chapter to the next, or it could mean they're just going their separate ways. Like, honestly, I don't know where you're going from here, but Eddie Kingston winning the first match in a series of matches with Chris Jericho doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Eddie Kingston winning one to prove he's got it and then going on to something very important, that might be interesting.
So when this went on first, I was so excited all day, man. I was walking around all amped up. I was like, you would have thought I had 800 cups of coffee. Everything about this felt big fight to me. I was like a kid. I was so excited. When they went on first, I was like, oh my God, Eddie Kingston's going to go over. Because I was like, there's no way they're starting with Eddie Kingston losing with how over Eddie has been. and I got like legit very emotional. And his reaction after got like, he couldn't believe he won the big one. Cause like you said, he never went, like the disbelief when he's standing there with that shiner that he was getting to. Actually, literally, as I'm saying that, audio we keep clicking the super chat at the same time. I'm gonna click it. I think Eddie Kingston shiner was a receipt. Damn, like I don't think this was just a hard hitting match. So the things that I liked about it, nice to see the old school walls get locked in. By the way, the old school walls of Jericho so much better than the diet walls of Jericho. I think Jericho clearly kicked up his conditioning for this match. Because he looks like a different guy than he did a month ago. And the slower pace for the age that Jericho is at, and even just the way he wrestles, like everything about this match worked for me. And this is the best I've seen from Jericho. I think it's so cool that he tapped to Eddie. Like that feels like a very, very selfless move from Jericho. I'm intrigued to see where this story goes. I'm wondering if it's Proud and Powerful one-on-one. Like this story between Eddie and Jericho has been as much about Proud and Powerful as it has been about Eddie and Jericho.
And I was very intrigued to see them not make an appearance. Maybe they thought there was going to be too much outside interference type stuff because they had a bunch of that kind of stuff that happened in the women's match, which we'll talk about, and a whole bunch of stuff happens in the men's championship match. So maybe they were like, let's not do too much interference tonight. Which I respect them if that was the case, but it did feel like them doing the fist bump thing to Jericho was kind of like we were lulling you into a sense of false security, and then we're going to stab you in the back type thing. They might do that on Dynamite or something, but it did feel weird to not have them there. But I really think there's Eddie Kingston. Is fan favorite is underselling it. Like he is family to this AEW crowd. Like we root for him like we would root for our ne'er-do-well uncle who got railroaded into prison on a trumped up charge and got out and is trying to make his life right. And he's always going to make stupid mistakes, but you love the guy and you root for him. Like that's who this guy is. Like he's family. Which is why I keep saying, if there's anybody that AEW could get to be cheered in a match versus CM Punk in Chicago, it's Eddie Kingston. I don't think necessarily they could do it, but if there's anybody to do it, if they want to do that crazy tightrope walk magic trick, which is what I want them to do, which is heel Punk by All Out versus Eddie Kingston riding to the rescue to defeat the most dastardly villain in CM Punk by that point. Maybe they do it. This might be the beginning of that because then CM Punk can't say, you never won the big one. Why am I even giving you a title match? Or anybody can't say that to him. Now he gets to be a guy who can be in title matches, who can win titles because he's proven to everybody else, to us, and to himself, most importantly, that he can win the big one.
So for me too, I always say that Eddie Kingston is like a homegrown talent who just happened to spend 18 years somewhere else. Like he just feels, you forget he's not a day one AEW guy. Like it's kind of crazy. He's so, like, for me, he was the closest thing. When Punk left, the guy that filled the void for me was Kevin Owens. And then when Eddie came along, Eddie took over that spot for me. And then Punk came back and those two guys faced each other. I lost my freaking mind.
Yeah.
So, but like Eddie Kingston brought that realness back. It makes everything feel so real. And what he was able to do with and for Jericho in this too, to get Jericho grounded into a place where he feels like a little bit more realistic and he's a little bit more solid of a heel after the Lambert stuff was just not for me. Like they really reined this into something I was emotionally invested in so much. And Eddie just makes everything feel so personal and important, which is like, those guys don't always need titles, but they can do really cool stuff with them. So I'll see where that goes. We have Doc chiming in here. Chris Mueller too, saying that Kingston is such a special talent. He's just real. That's exactly what it is. Like, I just believe everything he's saying because it always makes sense and it's always intentional. And that's why when he gives a 10-second promo, it's like as effective as some guys talking in circles, you know?
Yeah. James Brower says Jericho looked good. He did look good. He's gotten in really great shape. I think that his health scare that he had overseas, like, it made okay, let's let my body into a temple now and not a dumpster. And the Lion Tamer-esque Walls of Jericho was excellent. I thought Jericho was going downhill, but he really has kept it up for Revolution versus Eddie. He did. Like this match, you could tell he was taking it seriously. And this is me with a mea culpa. Like, I did not expect Jericho to A, put over Eddie, and B, take this seriously at all. Prove me wrong. I love being proven wrong. When I'm proven wrong, I admit it, and I'm very happy to be wrong about this. I am frequently wrong, and I am frequently very happy to be wrong. Both those things happened tonight about this match.
So I was hopeful here. I didn't think that it would be I didn't expect Jericho to tap and to do so cleanly.
Yeah.
But I listen to Talk is Jericho sometimes, and the Eddie Kingston episode I listened to, and he really loves Eddie. And he also is a guy that just, like, he plays ball. Like, he didn't really understand Orange Cassidy, but he knew the crowd was behind him. So he was like, all right, let's have vats of orange juice. And he put Orange Cassidy over. You know what I mean? So, like, even in that insanity, like, I just love the reason he has had such a long shelf life, in my opinion, is he is adaptable. And part of being adaptable is being open-minded to what fans want. He knows they want and love Eddie Kingston. And so I just thought it was really cool that he did that. I did not expect him to tap. I did expect him to win once the start of the show, though.
Yeah, it's true. Flowman says, War Games! Also, Jericho and Eddie might have been my favorite match of the night, and that's saying something with this card. Good stuff. Mark Losper says, I'll give him credit. Jericho is a giving performer. Tapping out to Eddie on a stage this big is pretty huge. Chris Judas did the right thing tonight. Yeah, he really did. That was pretty awesome. Something, again, not at all expecting it at all. Brent Lockman says Kingston tapped out Jericho. This is not a drill. I could not believe it either. It was so shocking. Like, Eddie winning wouldn't have been shocking. Tapping out Jericho was with a move I've not seen from Kingston in forever, and not seen from anybody in forever. Was crazy.
I didn't even know what it was. And it wasn't like a sneaky submission either. Like, he was stuck in it for a long time.
Yeah, he was wrenching on that shoulder. It was great. Ben Dixon says, imagine if I told you 5 years ago there would be a U.S. big money wrestling promotion other than WWE featuring Jericho, Punk, Sting, and Danielson, and Eddie Kingston is the biggest babyface on the roster. King is a god. He really is, man. Like, everybody was singing Jericho's song, and then Eddie's music hit, and the place went banana. Like, it was just he's so huge.
So huge. It's so cool to see.
my crack about how Eddie Kingston is family to the crowd. Joss Weaver says, AEW, when you're here, you're family.
Do we get unlimited breadsticks too?
Robert Lyle says, I will start all AEW pay-per-views with this prayer from now on. Lord, thank you for the great time. Please don't let me see anybody die. Because there were too many head and neck spots. Like
I felt like I was watching New Japan all of a sudden.
I feel like Kota Ibushi was agenting all of these matches. Like, please no. It was great though. And the buy-in humped, says Stephen Williams. TK should have charged us for the pre-show. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, there were like 2.5 really fun matches on the pre-show. Thank you for that free thing, TK.
You're doing something right if people are like, you should have charged me. You're doing a good job.
Yeah. So then we got the 3-way tag match with Red Dragon and Young Bucks, Jurassic Express. And the one thing I will say before I let you take the reins and do this one is that they did the thing that I don't love, which is a triple threat tag match should have 3 guys legal at any time. I do not like tagging out to somebody who's not your guy. I don't like a whole bunch of random blind tags, because that's the only way you can get somebody in. A triple threat tag match, in my view, I've seen it done both ways. I always prefer 3 guys legal at any one time, and you tag out to your own partner, and that's it. But I thought the way that this match laid out, well, it doesn't matter because it's AEW. Everyone's legal. So
all the time.
All the time. So it was a blast to watch.
So this 1-2 punch opening is some of the best 1-2 punch opening that I remember on a pay-per-view ever. Yeah. I'm with you, and that the lawlessness of the tag wrestling drives me crazy, especially when later on the show you bother to say this is tornado tag. Why don't you just say that here? Because then it's fine. Or say it's under Lucha rules. Like, that's all I need. But I wrote down some spots that I felt like were incredible, and I'll run through a few of them. But I was just so stunned by, like, all 3 teams were fantastic in this, but the Bucks were just on another level tonight. Yeah. Man, you said it yesterday that styles make matches. Mm-hmm. This is a fantastic example of this. Like, Lucha Express is Jurassic Express. I always say Lucha Express for both teams, by the way. Jurassic Express, the Bucks, and Redragon, as we call them on the mark order, Red Dragon. They're all stylistically so different, but they're in complete command of those styles, which makes it so much fun. Luchasaurus's moonsault was absolutely ridiculous. Nick Jackson with a destroyer off the ropes. An insane shooting star press.
Yeah, the reversal of the outside in choke slam.
What the hell?
Into the destroyer was crazy. The only quibble I have with that is later in the match, they did the outside in choke slam. And I think if you're going to do both, you got to do the move first and then the counter to it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because if we already know that you know how to counter it, then you should counter it the second time.
All the time.
If you've taken the move first, you go, next time that happens, I'll do something different.
I'll have it scouted.
Yeah, yes, that's the only thing. But my God, what a spot that was.
So cool. Matt Jackson going to super kick, I believe, Luchasaurus, and then hitting Kyle O'Reilly, and the oops face he made after was just absolutely hysterical. Nick and Matt Jackson have different strengths, and they're perfectly complementary. Like, it feels like they're brothers. I pop for the cold spray spot every time. Insane shooting star press in this. An incredible escalator that we saw from Matt Jackson. And I thought the finish was great. Overall, Jungle Boy is so incredibly smooth. And what I really liked about this match was Jurassic Express, well, I'm very glad that they're champions. And I feel like you had to put some sort of gold on Jungle Boy. To me, the best tag teams in the world are FTR and the Bucks. So it's hard to make the title reign kind of like pick up some momentum. And before this match, I felt like the best match Jungle Boy had been in was his singles match against Kenny Omega. And because of that, I want Jungle Boy to be a single star, but this was so perfect. Like, I felt like this was a huge match for them as far as being an established tag team. And it's just smart booking because the other 2 teams have issues with each other. So it's a very natural way to make them retain their championship, which I think is wonderful, and not feel like even though it was predictable, it was something that would naturally happen anyway. I just really appreciated that about this. It was a smart play on AEW's part to have the other 2 teams have a beef with each other, because it makes the retaining a very normal, natural thing, even though I feel like the Young Bucks are a better team than Jurassic Express, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think the only thing about this this is what I predicted, because I think that even though it didn't happen the way I thought it would, I thought that Red Dragon and Young Bucks would directly cost each other the match.
I think a lot of people did,
and they didn't. It was a whole bunch of action, that made it work. But I I think that we are getting Red Dragon versus Young Bucks coming out of this. So that's going to be a non-title feud. That's a high-profile enough feud that doesn't need the tag belts attached to it, because if the tag belts are attached to that feud, there's really no other tag feud you can do. However, now the Jurassic Express are the champions, you could figure out a way to slot Proud and Powerful in there and do a meaningful, like 3-4 week build to a championship match on a Dynamite, and finally make Santana and Ortiz champions. Like, you could have a way to do that. I thought there were some really great spots in here. The Luchasaurus bit in every one of these matches where they're like, okay, big man, here's your spot to shine. Like,
Yes.
I thought he pretty much nailed it. And I thought that was good for him. He's super over with the crowd. There was a sequence back and forth. It was Jungle Boy, and I can't remember which one of the Jacksons, which sounds like I'm talking about Jermaine or Tito, but which one of the Jacksons and Kyle O'Reilly
There's 5 of them, so it's a lot.
Ended with Kyle O'Reilly getting knocked back into the bottom rope, springing up, trying to do a double clothesline as the other 2 guys clotheslined him. But that sequence where there was crazy back and forth and back and forth, and then finally it was just all men laid out. That was beautifully put together. I agree with you. FTR, the Bucks, and Red Dragon are the 3 best tag teams in the world.
This was like a coming out match, in my opinion, though, for Jurassic Express. Like, they're more than looked like they could hang. Like, this felt like, wow, these guys are one of the best tag teams in the world.
They're great. And I agree with you. I think Jungle Boy is one of those guys that will look back in 5 years and think, how was he just a tag guy? How was he just basically a tag guy for so long? But I think the right team won. It was really well laid out, big time, huge spots. And I'm intrigued to see where I know what I hope it's Proud and Powerful, but I'm intrigued to see what they do with Jurassic Express coming out of this.
Put it on Proud and Powerful. Yeah, I wanted it to be them for a very long time, so I do hope that they're up next, because I think they deserve it so much.
We have some more wonderful super and Humper chats. Please, humperchats.com is where you can go to drop a Humper chat in, like this one from the Bear Kate Fought. Says, I want a rematch, bitch.
What? It's because of you people that I have to fight bears.
Yeah.
You used to support me, but then you stopped supporting me, and I went off into the forest, and you know what I found in the forest? The bear that just Humper chatted us. So you know what, bear? I can't grin at Barrett anymore. You want a rematch? You got a rematch at St. Patrick's Day Slam, and if not there, it'll be Memorial Day Mayhem or whatever special that we'll do in the meantime. Holy shit, I'm a promo goddess.
You are. Mark Quill says, sorry for the stop, drop, and chat, but that show was very tiring in a good way. Loved every minute of it. Have a great evening, Alex, Kate, and the chat. Thank you, Mark. Mark's awesome. And you know what else is awesome? Nick, another amazing donation. He says, Team Kalex are the best.
Again? He just liked what we said about his match.
Yeah. He says, Team Kalex are the best. I figure y'all will still be up breaking it down when I have to get back up to take my kids to the bus at 6 a.m.
We'll see you on the other side of dawn, my friend. We ride at dawn.
JB Love says, no dog bite can stop the best smile in wrestling journalism, Kate. Alex, you're adorable too. Why?
You are. You're really pretty.
12 Loose Leaves sends a Humper chat. It says, the Kalex Sands of Time blind review / pop quiz is what finally convinced me to subscribe to Select. But what's this I hear about Kate fighting bears? I heard it was sharks, multiple sharks. You saved a family of sea otters from a rampaging school of great white sharks.
But I did that without getting injured. This came from the bears. After the bear incident, I was like, you know what? I got to clear my mind. I'm going to go take a beach trip and I'm going to swim in the ocean.
Yeah.
And then there were freaking laser beams attached to their heads, Alex.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Yeah.
It's exhausting being me. I'm like all fun and cute on Twitter or whatever. Do you know what I have to do during my days?
Alan Marks says, here's an idea: do Proud and Powerful versus Jurassic Express on the battle for the belts they're doing in April. I think that's a perfect amount of time from between here and then to do an actual storyline. Do like a little thing where Proud and Powerful win a tag team tournament among like 4 teams, and they have to
Eddie and Chris can equalize each other.
Yeah, that could be great. I like that idea. We got is this about this one? Brunt Lackman says the only way to complete this throwback is if Punk posts about tonight's match later on his live journal.
Spoiler alert, at some point we'll be going through CM Punk's live journal and just doing like, I doubt it'll be on Select because that's like very marky, but maybe I'll do it on my TikTok or something. His live journal now is there's one post where he's like, I don't know, the American Dragon's pretty good. Like, it's hilarious. Like, it's aged better than half of like WWE's content. It's so funny, and the names in it that you will just love to hear. But he has a live journal, and God bless him, he never took it down. And I think WWE tried to have him take it down because not everything in it is like great.
That's great. That's great.
But I hope he does. That's very funny.
So we got all these super chats just about the show in general before we get to the big meaty men slapping meat ladder match classic invitational. Simon Renshaw says, hello, Team Kalex. Plenty of gory self-mutilation tonight. Love the show, but why is it so long? Also, Regal! Audio Flesh. What a fantastic name that is. Audio Flesh.
I just don't know what I would cut. Like, the only things that I would... I need Andrade on a pay-per-view, and that match was a nice palate
And
cleanser.
they get Sting on the pay-per-view, and Sting says, I'm on the pay-per-view? Well, let me think of something fun I can do nobody's ever seen before. That match was short
and the perfect like main event palate cleanser. I just don't know what you would cut, but they are long, but they only happen 4 times a year.
It's also like it didn't feel long to me. I think the reason was because I was just hanging out with my family watching the buy-in on my phone. So I wasn't like seated and actually watched. So it's 5 hours if you include the buy-in, which I get it. 4 hours, I feel like is fine. Like we're gonna sit through 2 4-hour nights of WrestleMania in a month, and it's gonna feel like 8 hours each night. You know what I mean? This didn't feel. It felt like 3 hours was 4 hours. Like Raw, every week, Raw feels longer than these 5 hours did.
I will say this is the first pay-per-view in a very long time that they've put on where I didn't feel like I was in love with the sequencing of the card. Normally, that's a huge strength of theirs. I understand why you put Regal in the second half of the show, but there's no way, in my estimation, there's no way Mox and Danielson should have been that. I feel like that match suffered because it was so close to the dog collar match.
As we talked about last night. Yeah, I think you got to keep those apart.
Keep those separate, but boy, oh boy, did they deliver a surprise after. So
yeah, that's why you do that. Audio Flesh says, good pay-per-views make me excited to tune in. Bless you both. Bless you. May Gabagool be with you and also with you. That's what we say.
That's what we say on Tuesdays.
Hang
out there if you don't get it.
If you don't get it, you're not cool.
Yeah, be cool.
Jonathan McPherson says MJF Punk, Mox Danielson, Jericho Kingston, Swerve, Regal. Can I get any better? Oh yeah. Tim Kalex, Linda, Sheila, what a night. Partners.
You're the best. You got so many of my favorite things into one super chat.
Mark Quill says, having done a live tweet of Revolution for the site I write for, I'm quite exhausted but satisfied with the show. That said, I hope everyone had fun tonight and enjoy the narrative. Everyone should enjoy the narrative.
Enjoy your narrative.
We have a lot of narrative jokes in here. We'll have to get
okay, let's explain it now so that we can laugh later. In Control Your Narrative, we found out almost in real time that they refer to the ring as the narrative. So you're entering the narrative.
Enter
and
the
if
narrative.
you win, they say like if Alex and I were fighting, they would be like, Alex controlled his narrative. Kate, not so much. And that's what they actually say.
That's a shoot. That's a shoot, brothers and sisters.
That's not me being like cutesy. That's what they say.
That's what they say. So we decided everything is a narrative.
Yeah, we were like, if it's code for victory and ring, what else is it code for? And we just really went off the rails.
Everything's
Feel free to super chat what your narrative is.
Here we go. Something we miss. Ace Shavaria says, all I know is we need a feud or a pairing of Hook and Miro soon. Ooh. Really good show. Some sloppy spots, nothing truly offensive. I want them to keep Miro off of my TV until they have like an awesome storyline for him. I don't want him to show up and be just another guy. I want him to come in and do something. So if it is going to take another few months, if you figure out a way to like get that FTW belt on Hook and Hook's running through people defending it, and the next defense is Miro, like this, I will break this boy. And if you want Hook to be a babyface, like have him like just try his damnedest to do whatever he can do to Miro, and Miro break him anyway, and then you build Hook back up to take down the monster. Like there could be some really cool stuff if you really want a babyface Hook. Man.
I don't know how this works because they're both heels, but I don't know if Miro even comes back heel because he's very, very over.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much money in Andrade versus Miro. I don't know how you get there. I don't care how you get there. I am dying to see that match.
Yeah.
Dying to see
I don't care. Jay Piscaric says, what did Yins think of Don Callis doing the You People promo? And do you think Omega is close to coming back? We missed that. That was a thing that happened on the buy-in. Tony Schiavone was like, hey, I'm going to interview Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega's music played, and I was like, no.
This is a weird spot.
This is a terrible spot to bring Kenny Omega back. Unless he's announcing that he's not going to be back for several more months. But it wasn't Kenny Omega. It was Don Callis. And then I tuned everything out. Like, I just like, no, stop talking, Don Callis.
Well, I liked what they did because I thought Kenny was going to come back tonight.
Me too.
But I'm glad he didn't. Like, I love the simplicity of the main event, but him saying Kenny's not coming back tonight on the pre-show made me be like, oh, he's definitely coming back tonight. So I'm thinking, and then the cameraman, I don't know if you noticed this, but the cameraman was in a mask, like was dressed up. So in the main event, and I was like, oh my God, if it's Callis again. But I think Kenny is on his way. I don't know if he's going to be ring ready for a little bit. He was facing a lot of stuff, but there's no way I think that you come out of a Cole Adam Page program without Kenny showing up in some capacity and Jay White being right there too. I'm like, there's too much for Kenny not to come back soon in a capacity. I just don't know if it's going to be a ring capacity, but I do think Omega is on his way.
Yeah.
Like, what in the actual F was that guy doing, putting on the caliber of matches he was with like no body part that wasn't hurting and with vertigo?
I don't know.
He didn't have it. He was like, my stomach is unhealthy on top of like my shoulders and my knees and my elbows and my hair hurts. Like every part of that guy hurt. And he was like, I'm still the best in the world at this, arguably. Like it's insane. I can't wait.
That sounds like me after a power walking weekend. Just everything hurts. All of my joints ache. The only thing that can cure it is a trip to the Cinnabon. So we got our big meaty men slapping meat ladder match.
Hey, speaking of big meat, did you know that there's a Viagra alternative on the market?
No, I didn't know.
Well, Sean Ross Sapp is here to tell you all about it.
Oh, great.
Your penis is soft. Let me help. Not like that. BlueChew.com. Code Fightful. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but it's ready when you are, or when you're not. It's not about having a problem. It's about having that performance, that excellent performance, that confidence. Fill out their online questionnaire. You work with an online physician. You won't have to wait in line at the pharmacy or the doctor's office. It's shipped discreetly and directly to you, and you get that first shipment free when you use that code FIGHTFUL at checkout. You want to be confident, don't you? You want that pay-per-view, that main event performance. Don't let yourself or somebody else down. Use BlueChew.com and the code FIGHTFUL.
Guys, you're going to get 3 ads tonight because I'm an idiot. I got so excited about my segue that we ran.
Free ad read there, Blue Chew.
Blue Chew, my goodness. I am a dork and I ran the wrong one, but I think I was just so excited about the segue potential.
Yeah, no, but now I know it's okay. We'll get around to the other ones. We'll figure out a way to beautifully segue into the other 2 ads. It'll be fine. But just so there's a record of SRS saying we apologize. But yeah, there you go. Okay.
Would you say that I'm like green at this?
Don't do a back-to-back.
You don't think I should just clear it out now? All right, fine. I do want to call out the people in the chat that were saying that Blue Chew helps you control your narrative, though. It does. I lost my narrative. You guys are right. And if you lost your narrative, go to BlueChew.com and use the code FIGHTFUL. All sorts of free stuff for Blue Chew. But you know what? They're very good to us. I'm sorry that I got so excited about the segue. I ran the wrong ad.
I love it. We got our Keith Lee versus Powerhouse versus Ricky Starks versus Orange Cassidy versus Christian Cage versus Wardlow. I will say I think the right guy won because this is the right storyline. There were some good spots in the match. Not as many like crazy spots. There were a couple things that I loved.
I felt like Orange Cassidy of all people had the craziest spots in this match.
Yeah, it's true. But he had the thing that I loved the most, that's for sure. When he was like, let me wear this ladder and do the thing where I spin it and hit people with it. And then he's like standing there and there's Keith Lee and there's Wardlow and he's like, oh, this is not gonna be good. And he's holding on to it and they like military press him. So he's got his feet dangling. And then he like lifted like what is it?
Like skinned the cat
onto the top of the ladder and then was like trying to get at the brass ring. I thought that was really, and the crowd popped like mad for that spot. Like that was really cool. I thought that was great.
I also loved in the beginning of the match when it was just him and the 3 hosses and he was just striking them. I was dying. It cracks me up.
He kept ruining that moment. Like the first time I saw at least 20 different tweets when it came down, when we knew that Keith Lee was in it, Wardlow was in it, and then Hobbs got in it. We're like, holy shit, that moment when the 3 big guys face off. Because we really haven't seen those guys face off at all. So that was going to be a big thing. And then it was like Orange Cassidy, like, hey, I'm going to do the thing where I kick them and that whatever. And then it kind of like fizzled into something else. And then they set it up again. And Orange Cassidy just did his thing where he rolled slowly in between the 3 of them. And then Keith Lee decided to do his Beal of Orange Cassidy to the outside, and he overshot Christian and Starks by a good 4 feet. And they were like, whoa, gotta catch him. Like, it was like, man, he is so strong. He is so strong.
It's wild. Starks spearing through the ladder was
insane. That was a great one.
Oh my God, what a cool...
That felt like that was a Christian idea, because Christian was the one who took the spear.
Do you think he agented this match? I was like thinking maybe he produced
this. I feel like he probably came up with a bunch of spots. because he's one of the ladder match gods. I liked where both Hobbs and Wardlow went up to the top of the ramp to get a ladder, and they both grabbed the same ladder. I was like, "This is my ladder. No, this is my ladder." And then they wishboned the ladder. That was a great spot. I've never seen that before. That was really cool.
There were a few things, and there's been a lot of ladder matches, and it was cool to see stuff I had never seen before. My only real gripe with the whole match was when the ring was clear and Wardlow, instead of climbing the ladder, went up the ramp. And the story that they tried to tell with it was like he's making sure that the big boys are really put away.
Right.
And eventually we see them go through the stage.
Right.
And so that got paid off, but I was like, it's literally right behind you.
Right. That's the thing. Wardlow, they said he's being emotion. He's letting his emotions get away with him or whatever, which I thought was also them trying to save it. He went all the way to the top, and Hobbs and Lee were like trying to choke slam each other, which is not a thing that can happen, through a table. And Wardlow came around from behind them and shoved them both through the table to the concrete, which gets rid of Hobbs and Lee. Hobbs and Lee, I think, are going to have a major program here coming out of this into the spring. I think that'll be a lot of fun. But Wardlow took forever to get back down to the ring. And when they focused on the camera back on the ring after that spot at the top at the stage, it was just Christian alone in the ring with a ladder set up and him not climbing it. And there was nobody else anywhere near him. And his role in this is to be the veteran who knows how these ladder matches work, because he invented ladder matches, I think he said. That was the one that took me out of it. Like you got to have at least Starks and Cassidy like laid out in the ring or whatever, so that grabbing onto his leg or something, because it can't be him just standing around in the ring where there's a ladder set up and he could just go up and get the brass ring deal. But
which had to look really goofy live, I would imagine.
Yes. He had his a ladder set from the ring ropes to the ladder, one of the rungs of the ladder. And Ricky Starks starts climbing it because Wardlow gets in, power bombs Christian. Ricky Starks starts climbing the ladder, and Wardlow just box jumps like 4 feet up the ladder, which was crazy. That guy's insanely athletic. And then gets into a power bomb position to power bomb Ricky Starks through the ladder that's set up right below him. And something went wrong. And he just dropped Ricky Starks right on the top of his neck. And I was like, this is not the guy to be taking that bump. Not Ricky. Not Ricky. Other guys can take the bump. Not Ricky, though. And I don't think it was Wardlow's fault. I don't think it was just a weird
happened.
Spot that happened. It's a thing that happened. It was too bad. But he climbs to the top, gets the thing. He's the guy who wins because that's the right play for what's happening after this with the MJF and Wardlow storyline, which I think is going to be gangbusters and so great. You can tell by what happens later in the Punk match, the crowd is ready to cheer like mad for Wardlow. He's got it right now, and they're going to capitalize on it. It's going to be great.
The only thing, and other than the psychology gaps that we mentioned in this match, which also just happen when you have this much going on, I kind of wish there was either a suggestion like that MJF came out to ruin, or Sean Spears came out to ruin his big moment, and we got MJF concretely saying, cool, my title shot. Like between then and the dog collar match, something that showed MJF completely screwing over Wardlow, I think would have been a really nice piece of storytelling. There is a part of me that likes that they let me be intelligent enough to assume that on my own. Right. But this idea of MJF, because he's been such a dictator lately, to come out, and even if he like took the ring out of his hand and didn't say anything, or just some little nuanced storytelling like that, I think would have been very fun. But like, the story is there, it's coming down the mountain. It's been really, really entertaining. And Wardlow is another guy that we've seen just grow leaps and bounds as far as an in-ring storyteller in front of our eyes. It's been really, really cool. So the crowd is ready, man, and I am too.
Yeah.
Smart booking on this match.
Right. Josh Weaver says, I love that they did the Keith Lee Finn Balor meme with Christian, where Christian's standing in the corner and here comes Keith Lee. Like that thing. Oh, that popped me. Here's the thing. A forgotten match that nobody remembers that is kind of crazy. On a random episode of a Christmas episode of something that was taped in WWE, Keith Lee and Lio Rush were a tag team against I don't remember who, because honestly, they were opposite Keith Lee and Lio Rush. So how could you remember them in that match? But Keith Lee wore a Santa hat for the majority of the match, and he did that spot standing up behind somebody while wearing the Santa hat. And you can see him say it, but you can't hear it. Ho, ho, ho. And I was like, I wish I could have heard it in his voice. But that was great. Anyway, I did love that. Mark Losper says, Keith Lee's leapfrog. Take that, people whining about the man's weight. Actually, he wrote whinging, because that's how you say whining in Australia. Take that, people whinging about the man's weight. Keith Lee is a god among men. Put all the gold on him right now. I think you might see very, very soon in the spring. You might see something with him. I think that there's something
brewing.
Stuff. Yeah. There you go. Keith Lee and Lio Rush versus Damien
Priest?
Yeah, Damien Priest, yeah, and Tony Nese on a Christmas episode of NXT a couple years ago.
That's really fun. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I was doing the NXT reviews then, and I was like, oh well, this is a thing I'll always remember. Yeah, and then Christina Cole says, I'm actually Wardlow's gear maker. Well, tip of the hat to you, milady, because I love his gear. The one that he wore a couple of weeks ago for versus Punk with the dark blue and the white. So
great.
That was great. Tonight's was great. Tip of the hat, milady. I love Wardlow's gear. Says,
selfish request. Can you tweet me, because I actually have something to ask you. If you could tweet me. It's not anything scoopy. I have a question for you.
Tonight, Christina says, tonight I was a fan. I felt like I was 7 discovering wrestling again. Amazing show. Love listening to you guys. Thank you so much, Christina Cole. That's awesome. Tell Wardlow he's awesome next time you talk.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I really love that guy. Like he's a dude that I'm like, I can't wait to see what the next 10 years holds for that dude.
Effortlessly cool. Effortlessly cool, dude.
He's very cool. Mark Losper says, stop whining about whinging, Alex. And I shall.
Stop whinging about whining.
Dun,
dun, dun. I fought a bear. The least you can do is stop your whinging.
Josh Weaver says, I got way too excited for the Keith Lee creeping up behind Christian's spot, especially since I was in a movie theater tonight. Man, that's one of those things I do want to do at some point.
You've got to. Oh my God, it's so fun. I did that last pay-per-view. It was the best. You get a slushie and to watch it with people. Best day of my life.
Glass Thoreau says, the crowd was so silent for a few matches that they stole my focus during the Mox Bryan Danielson match. Couldn't decide if it was the ladder match or the kisses that killed them. Well, we'll talk about the kisses in a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to keep them up for the entire show. It really is. You got to find some ways of getting their attention. Yeah, but anyway, like Wardlow won. It's the right call. We can tell it's the right call from the reaction he got later in the night. And I think that, as we said, Christian's going to be fine. He'll be doing something. Orange Cassidy's always got something to do because he's over, and they'll always put him on television.
And he has a lot of friends.
And Ricky Starks and William J. Hobbs are going to fight Keith Lee for a while, and that'll be a lot of fun. So we got a little. Hey, Tony Schiavone's up at the top of the ramp. and he's waving around a clipboard that has AEW contract Swerve written on it. I know because he's waving around a clipboard right in front of a camera and pauses it around so you can read what it says on it. Jonathan McPherson says, missed a few minutes. Does anyone know who signed the piece of paper that said Swerve? I popped so hard.
John Cena stole it.
He did. John Cena came up and he stole it. He signed it. So he's got the contract now. I popped so hard for Shivani inadvertently spoiling the surprise as first reported by Fightful Select.
Fightful Select, which you can subscribe to at FightfulSelect.com for just $5 a month. If you don't, you're not cool.
That's true. So we get Swerve comes out. He looks great with his skinny tie and his suit and his sunglasses. He looked like the 6th Reservoir Dog, Mr. Black. Like he was that dude, man. I watched he tweeted this out. You get the full match of this. It's him versus Nick Wayne in Defy from a couple of weeks ago. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube. It's like 30 minutes long. It is amazing. The Nick Wayne kid is going to be so good. But he and Swerve, I was watching that going, man, it bums me out we didn't get to see him as the top contender to Roman Reigns. Like he was there. He was on SmackDown. He's that good. He's that charismatic. He's a guy who could run your friggin' company. And they just like there's nobody on SmackDown to challenge Roman Reigns. And they had that guy who would have been amazing at it, and you could have done trios matches with him and Hit Row versus Roman and the Usos. Like that could have been a really fun thing. But I think Swerve is a top of the card dude, especially now that they can shuttle people around with Ring of Honor if that's what they start to do. He's a top of the card guy. I think that depending on who's busy doing what, I think that Swerve could slot in and face anybody as a heel or a face. He's just so good at everything he does. Mark Losper says Swerve may be the coolest dude on the roster. He's
up there.
Yeah.
He's up there. I believe it was FightfulSelect.com that reported that AEW views him as someone that's a crossover star. Like he's just so great at so many things, and he's so charismatic, like upsettingly charismatic, to the point where I think they think he could do a lot as far as any sort of cross promotion and pop culture appeal. Like he's a guy that could really expand the brand into other avenues of culture.
He did like some returning soon vignette a few months ago that was all self-produced. That was him leaning out of the passenger side rear window of a speeding car, firing like a Tommy gun with a ski mask on in slow motion, set to opera music in black and white. And at the end, after presumably he shot all the cop cars that are following him, he pulls off the ski mask and he's just cackling. And I was like, that's like the coolest, like if that's just like the idea of what his character could be, is like encompassed within a little 1 minute long video. Like, you sign me up for everything that guy could do. He's so creative.
I love this chat coming in from class. I don't know Swerve, but I know he's cool AF, and it's enough. That's kind of what it is with him. And we'll put over our buddies on Graph City too that had an interview with him.
Yes.
And we'll put over Jeremy for scooping Will on his own show with his own family member before that happened on the Spotlight with Steven Jensen.
Yeah.
So very cool of Will to forgive Jeremy for scooping him on his own show.
They're already doing Whose House, Swerve's House chants.
Everybody knew too. It was so cool.
Everybody knew to do it. Like they're ready. We got that's Joss Weaver says that. And then Mark Losper says, got to give AEW some credit. They've really gone out of their way to attempt to solve the representation issue with the Black community. So great.
They have, and they can't even take a victory lap on it because Tony Khan put his foot in his mouth already. But it is nice to see the incredible strides that they've made, and they've done it with the right people. Yeah,
I don't want them to take a victory lap on it. I want them to just be. This is the thing because we're bringing
the
in
best talent in the world.
With the best talent in the world, bar none. We have Braun Wagner saying that need to hit row in AEW. They're now known as the Hit Makers. But here's something that I loved. Did you see this beef squashing photo? It was Ashante the Adonis and formerly known as Top Dollar, now known as Big Frank, with Max Caster. But with Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, and they posing together. They squashed the beef. They had the thing back and forth where like who's the best rappers or whatever. That's all done now. It's like the Bloods and the Crips have decided we're not going to do that anymore. We're not, no more gang wars between us. So I mean, like, would I want them to sign them? No, but would it be kind of cool to see them work a match on Dark? That'd be fun.
Sure, yeah. Because or ROH, like whatever that's going to be.
Whatever. Yeah, I think it could be a lot of fun.
But make no doubt about it, Swerve was the back that faction was built.
Oh, 100%.
Not the other way around. Like it was not equal parts.
He did not need them, but they would have, I think, could have risen to prominence alongside him.
Of course.
I think that the AJ Francis is like really athletic and fun and charismatic for a big dude. And Ashante the Adonis was doing some of the most fun character work we never got to see him really actually delve into. Like he was this crazed lunatic. Like he would get some kind of like perceived slight in the match and just go crazy. And it took Top Dollar to like say, hey, we need you focused so we can win this match, because otherwise Ashante the Adonis was gonna murder a bitch. Like he was like it was fun. But we're never gonna see that happen. So there you go.
Because Big Frank, here's the thing. K-Ties, when you said Big Frank, amazing. The reason my eyes did that was because Big Frank to me reads as a 47-year-old, 400-pound man that is on your slow-pitch softball team, not anything.
But it's Frank with a C, because, it's short for Francis. Get it? So,
Like a Frank?
Like a Frank.
Okay. Still no. It's a no for me.
So
you know what I wish, Alex?
What?
I wish that name was nowhere to be found. And if you don't want people tracking where you are, well, NordVPN has you covered.
I've started to travel a lot more for work, which is why I'm not on this show right now. And there are little things that I'm discovering when I'm on the road, like I can't watch SmackDown unless I'm live at the hotel because YouTube TV tells me I'm out of my region. Fortunately, NordVPN.com/Fightful can help, and it helps me watch a lot of shows that I would normally miss because they're region blocked in my area. It helps me get better prices on a lot of pay-per-view stuff. NordVPN.com/Fightful. You can also use that code Fightful, and you're going to get 70% off your NordVPN plan plus one additional month for free, and it's also risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. There is nothing to lose here with NordVPN.com/Fightful. It's the equivalent of buying a cup of coffee every month, a small price to pay for premium cybersecurity and access to vast amount of entertaining content. NordVPN.com/Fightful. It has made my life a whole lot easier, especially on the road. Check us out. Use that code Fightful at NordVPN.com/Fightful.
Kate has controlled the NordVPN narrative. Guys, if you wanted to watch the pay-per-view on Fight for a little bit less money and you use NordVPN, you could do that. You are not a slave to Bleacher Report or your cable providers. NordVPN is a great deal when you use the code Fightful. Legitimately, if you sign up for those 2 years, you'll save more money on subscriptions, like for realsies, than you would without it. And hey, you know what? that was the right ad that we were supposed to play. So killing it now that we are in the groove.
Yeah.
Dick jokes more fun for segues. I gotta be honest, but at least we played the right ad this time.
Dan Janoff says, of your Blue Chew segue, Kate is the best at segues. I was dying after that.
Well, thank you.
I was dying too because I had my own segue prepared for a different ad read for this segment that we're about to talk about, which I think is hilarious. Because we got Jade Cargill versus Ty Conti. And Jade Cargill was all dressed up in green. She was dressed up as Jade from the Mortal Kombat thing, but she got the green hair and everything. And so we have the athletic greens that we're. I know I'm just gonna do it right now. I don't care. Sorry, right back to back. Sorry, guys.
Think of it this way: it's an ad break. You're getting them out of the way.
A couple commercials, and then there's no more. The rest of the show will be ad free.
We talk a lot about performance.
Is named after
Fightful.
a shade.
And if you want that performance, you want Athletic Greens 1. athleticgreens.com/Fightful. So excited to work with Athletic Greens. You can get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase if you visit athleticgreens.com/Fightful. And you might be asking, what is Athletic Greens? Well, 1 scoop of AG1 contains 75 vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multimineral, probiotic, green superfood blend, and more in 1 convenient daily serving. I took multivitamin tablets before this. Our strength and conditioning coach said, you should probably move on to something more digestible, recommended AG1. I loved it. I love how it made me feel, loved the energy that it gave me. And it got me a whole lot more vitamins than I was taking in general because it absorbs a lot better. Athletic Greens 1, it effectively replaces all those products, pills, with 1 healthy drink. athleticgreens.com/Fightful, and check them out on Twitter at Athletic Greens. Let them know you heard about them from us.
The show is a beautiful disaster. I love you too. We love you too, Mark. Yeah.
If we were a tag team, we would be the beautiful disaster. Does Sean have the same hoodie in both ads that we played back to back?
You recorded back to back.
Come on, Sean.
Come on, Sean. At least
change the shirt.
Luis says, Kate with the hot mic. That's true. Class Thoreau says, I've never been less excited for a kiss than this. Not my timeline was excited because Jade was dressed as Jade. Like, my God, her ring gear looked fantastic. And she planted a big one right on Ty Conti, who did not enjoy it. But my timeline was filled with screenshots of the kiss.
Gentlemen were not upset by the smooch.
There were a lot of let's just say the L and LGBT on my timeline who were also very big fans of this moment.
This was the horniest Twitter has been since the Nikita Lyons debut, I would say.
True. That is true.
So this match was, for me, not super great. It was short. It wasn't the best match. Jade looks like a star. She has charisma for days. I liked Tay using the frog splash. I thought that was very fun. And I think Jade used the pile driver, right? At the end of this.
Ty used the pile driver, yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Ty did, yeah. So that's pretty cool. But just, I like really strong in ring work. I thought Layla and Chris kicked this match's butt. But Jade has incredible upside in other ways. It's just not there for me in the ring yet. After her match with Anna Jay, I was really encouraged, and I was hoping this might be a little bit stronger than it was, but not my favorite, but not the worst. And I think it was 8 minutes long, and it was what it was. The pump kick that Jade brings out always looks great. So that was a fun spot. But overall, this match just didn't really click in for me very much.
I think it was sloppy, but kind of in a good way. It felt like a real fight. Like they were, they didn't like each other. It did feel that way. Like it was just two women who really wanted to beat the piss out of each other, as opposed to a worked fight. It felt like it was just I don't like you, and I mean that sometimes that's good. There were parts of it that I thought where that worked, and parts of it where I thought that it didn't. I will always love. I feel like there's like a backstage. I don't know, maybe like a bulletin board where everybody there's screenshots of everybody's face right before they take the jaded, and everyone's trying to outdo each other with how scared they can look. Because I just love Taya because she didn't look scared; she looked pissed. Like, damn it, I'm gonna lose this match.
Like, oh, son of a
damn it. Yeah, I thought that was yeah, that was fine.
Tay also, I love Jade looked amazing, but I love Tay's gear for this. And when she fought Britt, it feels like a fighter when she comes out with the flag and with her hair and like the braids. Like I also love her look going into these matches. Yeah. And I just am kind of ready for like, all right, what's next for Jade? I was hoping someone was debut tonight.
The next one is a milestone. The next one is 30-0. I think
that's what I'm thinking.
Think after she gets to 30-0, maybe then she'll be like, I'm 30-0. Nobody here can touch me. There's nobody on the roster who can beat me. And then somebody enters who's not on the roster.
Athena, Tony Storm, Tegan Knox, someone in that vein. That could be really fun.
I think
God, it could be Deanna at this point. Who the hell knows? So.
Honestly, that would be interesting as well. Mark Losper says Jade versus Nikita to blow up the internet. The internet would not recover.
It wouldn't.
The internet
would time travel. We would be in the astral somewhere. We would not be in this dimension anymore.
Both women, the way they pin after their finisher is by putting their butt in their opponent's face. Whoever wins the match, that screenshot's going to live forever.
Gonna end up like this.
Yep, right there. Okay. Before we get into the crazy one, where we're going to talk, I'm sure, for the longest amount of time, let's get some of these super and humper chats out of the way for you.
What's a humper chat?
Go to humperchats.com and you can send us a humper chat. We get a bigger piece of the pie if you guys do that, and that's great. So thank you. Also, you can just do the super chat thing at the bottom of the YouTube, and that's fine as well.
And leave us a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. That's also very important for the algorithm. Fightful's best duo, says CR Media. Oh, thank you. Kate needs to run a promo school. Killing it.
You bears and you people can't put up a fight against me. Let's go.
I love me some Sova says this pay-per-view
It did. That's why we are soliciting your humper chats. Well, because
Shot Kid 29 says AEW controlled their narrative tonight. What a show! One of the best pay-per-views I've ever seen, and that's including the pre-show. First thoughts, Linder? Hold on.
WrestleMania? Not so much.
Well, listen, I thought the whole thing was just fantastic. I mean, it was 5 hours on my couch, so that's basically every Sunday for me. So that's fine as well. I had my snacks all laid out, a little charcuterie, a bottle of wine. Wonderful.
I like that you said glass, and then you went into a bottle of wine. Because you were being honest.
Let's be honest. It was several glasses of wine.
Sure.
But I did enjoy myself quite a lot. And the match we're about to talk about with the Charles Montgomery Punk, I do like him quite a lot. And I will talk about him some more.
If you don't understand what that was about, hang out with us on Tuesdays and you get to be cool and inside. But we're not explaining it.
No, we shall never explain it. Mark Losper says AEW controls their narrative, WWE not so much. Chris Watson saw the pay-per-view in a very comfortable theater. What a banger. Brendan Tungate says, what a show. DJ Page says, NXT and NJPW have had some better matches on weaker cards, but start to finish, this was the best pay-per-view I've ever seen. Like, they find new ways of topping themselves, man. I thought All Out was the best as it could ever possibly get, and Full Gear surpassed it. I don't know if this surpassed Full Gear for me, because there were just some matches on there that I was just so excited to watch. But it was still really, really great, and way better than anything we're going to get in about a month. That's what I'm going to say about that.
For me, All Out has been my favorite pay-per-view, but I can't argue with tonight's or Full Gear. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's anything definitive. I think it just becomes a matter of taste after a while. Like, so I can't critique that. And when I'm watching them, it always feels like the best pay-per-view I've ever seen for the past 3 for sure.
Josh Weaver says, I need a cigarette after that show. You and me both, sweetheart. Doug Kahn says, has AEW ever had a bad pay-per-view? I mean, the end of Revolution last year kind of soured the whole experience, but I know there were really good matches on the show. But the end of that thing with the fizzled out exploding barbed wire death match.
Oh God, I kind of loved it though, because it was gonna be either amazing or terrible, and it being terrible was amazing. But
yeah.
I feel like Double or Nothing, was it Double or Nothing? Whatever one where it was like 900 degrees in Florida had a rough first half and a great second half. Whatever one it was, MJF and Moxley main eventing. Yeah. That was the only one that as a pay-per-view I felt like didn't fully necessarily deliver, but I still can't even call that a bad pay-per-view. Yeah. So in my opinion, no, but they've had weaker pay-per-views at points.
Yeah. Dan Janoff says that this show was near perfect. Eddie made Jericho tap. Regal is all elite. We're about to get to that. My childhood hero went through 2 tables, and Punk and Hangman showed us why honor is real. The narrative was controlled.
I love that we're just controlling the narrative.
Well, Fear and Loathing in NYC says, I thought control your narrative was spending 7 minutes in hell taunting Austin Aries, telling him he's a bum in a broom closet. That's a thing.
That's a rant room.
That is a rant room. So here we go. MJF does the thing that he likes to do sometimes, where he plays the opponent's music and then comes out to his own music. Thought that was fun. I love his little robes that he wears with the Burberry pattern on them. And then
Punk had it scouted. Like, come on.
And then, Kate, I'll let you handle your feelings when you heard what we heard.
You want me just to cry? You want me to cry on the stream?
No, not necessarily.
I mean, all of it. So if you're not familiar, like a lot of geeks on the internet, I say that with love because I'm one of those geeks on the internet. CM Punk and Raven in Ring of Honor had a dog collar match that was the last one Punk was in, and B, just a fantastic piece of wrestling history. And in that, his ROH theme is what played tonight. And he came out with gym shorts that were almost exactly what they might have been the same ones for all I know. They looked exactly the same as his Ring of Honor ones. This story is so good on its own, but if you're familiar with the Raven Punk story, some of the things that MJF was saying were things that Punk said leading into that dog collar match with Raven. So when he came out to it, to Miseria Cantari, I think I can't words. Just the way it was set up with the cool fog and the pillars and stuff, but like,
oh, so cool
on its own. Gave me chills in the same way that the Punk debut did, honestly. Like it was such a fantastic moment. But to have that been preceded by MJF doing Punk's theme and Punk saying, I'm still gonna one up this rookie, like the amount of storytelling that happened before the bell even rang, I just thought was so perfect and so cool. I loved that, spoiler alert, at the end they played Cult of Personality too. They didn't play that, so I thought it was so fun. But when he walked out, I mean, he was just a blonde haircut away from looking exactly like he did in ROH. And with them having bought ROH a week ago, like, my goodness, like what a fantastic tribute. And if you know anything about MJF, you know he's an absolute student of this. And if you know anything about Punk, you've seen he's an absolute student of this with the Bret Hart tributes and the Harley Race seesaw spot and the last match with MJF. So just going into this, like, it already felt so visceral and so personal and violent, and then that just made me so emotional and gave me such chills. I have a friend who does a podcast called the Shining Wizards podcast, and he said they should have put the dog collar matches on them when they started the match, like Piper and Valentine did. That was the only like piece of storytelling that wasn't there, which I thought would have been. Once he clarified, because I didn't know that. He was like, that would have been so fun. He's right. But I just, before we even get into the match, my goodness, did this feel like it had a big fight feel. Like, what a fantastic, fantastic thing. This is something I'll bring up too. That Paul Turner refed the Raven one in this. I think that is true from what I understand, which is just like absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. But just what a cool piece of wrestling storytelling. And it's something that if you don't know that, you're going to be like, wait, what is Punk doing? And you're going to want to go look it up. Like, they're really good at stuff like that too, where when something exists on a surface level, it's very compelling. But then when you do know the history, it's even that much more compelling.
Mm-hmm. Josh Weaver says, now we know why TK really bought ROH. Josh Cardenas says, ROH CM Punk. Kate must be losing her mind.
I did. I cried twice in this pay-per-view. Twice about wrestling in one night. I cried once about getting my face ripped off. I cried twice in one pay-per-view. And Eddie and Punk, of course.
Yeah. Audio Flesh says Punk walking out to AFI is an awesome nuanced detail for hardcore fans. It's refreshing to see a company invest in people that love it most rather than always spotlighting the money of casual fans. Loyalty. I agree. There was something where like there you could tell there was the vast majority of people in that crowd were not familiar, but the ones who were losing their minds. I saw one guy who was singing along and looking around like, why is nobody else singing too? This is the best moment of my life. Like, he was just going crazy. Yeah, that was you.
I was wondering why my dog wasn't singing along.
I thought it was because I didn't recognize the music, but I recognized the gear.
Yeah.
And I was like, now I get what this music is. Okay. Oh, wow. This is awesome. Like, this is just him playing the hits. Like, it's like not playing the hits, but like referencing his past in certain ways that we've seen before. That I love. This is why I absolutely believe we're getting a Summer of Punk again.
And I don't know if you saw, but the back of his jacket had the X's on it, and he has not really talked straight edge at all, which makes me think we might be getting a drunk cowboy versus a straight edge prick in the very near future.
There's something to it, but I do believe we're getting Summer of Punk this year. I think it's going to be something great. Class the Rose says, someone lapsed for 20 years. I loved hearing AFI. Zero Fear 94 says Miseria Cantare, or whatever you ever pronounce it. Britt Lockman says the same thing. That title of the song I butchered. Well, now I guess I gotta mark out for days now.
This corrects the Suzuki incident. You know what I mean? This is like their penance. Punk screaming the lyrics when he got to the ring was these moments where he looks so genuinely happy. Just, oh my God, they're just the best.
Yeah.
Just the best.
So now the match, Kate. I thought it was you got to do the thing, even though I understand you got to do it. MJF, like, I'm going to escape. Oh no, I'm not. Like 3 times, I was like, you got to establish that that's impossible, and then you can do the rest of the match. But every time he did it, I was like, MJF knows he can't run away. He's wearing a dog collar that is attached to CM Punk. Please stop doing that.
And I wish they had referenced that he had been in 2 dog collar matches before. MJF had on the indies. If you're going to acknowledge it in one arena, I know indie wrestling is not the same as having had one in Ring of Honor, but like I think that
Yeah.
would have been a cool part of the story.
Yeah, that's true. I thought that, you know, everyone knew they were going to bleed. And
Yeah.
they did. Punk bled a lot. So much so that I was like, this feels like it's early in the match and he's bleeding quite a lot. Are we sure he's not going to pass out? But I thought it was really great. They some really good psychology, in-ring selling and storytelling. Just these two guys are masters of their craft. They really, really are. They bring, you knew it was going crazy when they brought out the thumbtacks and everything. Like it was just I
and
thought
pin attempts on the thumbtacks.
Yeah.
Like pin attempts.
Yeah.
Ow.
there was some really great stuff, like MJF having to crawl through the thumbtacks to get the pin attempt on him,
God.
and him going ooh, like he's just really great. He's really, really, really great.
He is unbelievable.
Yeah.
At selling. He's unbelievable at a lot of things. He did this with Darby Allin too. Selling getting injured in a match is one of the things he's the most incredible at. That broken hand, while not broken, was broken in everything he did.
Yeah.
He did that with the knee against Darby Allin. He is unreal at making you think that he is like shoot injured in matches. I loved the microphone spot when Punk eat shit masks.
Yeah,
that was so much fun.
Yeah, where he was like,
I
say I quit. I like that. And I loved MJF gets up on the top rope and he's like about to deliver a speech to the crowd, and Punk just yanks him off the top rope.
Smart.
That was great. I thought that was really fun.
Back to the broken hand, MJF started throwing forearms, like little things like that.
Yeah,
it's like,
that was
because your hand's broken, you're not gonna punch the guy. You're gonna throw a forearm. We saw an Anaconda Vice that was really fun.
Yeah.
The pile drivers on the apron spot was insane.
Yeah.
MJF having the Pepsi plunge scouted was so great.
That was good too. Yeah.
But overall, the storytelling, dog collar matches are so interesting because everything feels so vulnerable when there's something around someone's neck. Like it's a different level of uncomfortable than tacks or a steel cage because it's someone's esophagus and their throat. Like it just feels so very like, man, one wrong move in either direction and shit gets really scary.
Yeah.
And the perfect stipulation for a blow off that got this personal like that. Like it did feel maybe a little bit long, but I think this card it's hard to figure that out. Like it's such a roller coaster when you're watching this high quality wrestling for 5 hours, but overall just so good. And we can talk about the Wardlow spot whenever you want.
Yeah, we will. Class Thoreau says was afraid Punk would hit Eddie at Judgment Day levels of bleeding. Yeah, or what?
Flair.
Cena versus JBL in that one match where it was just like literal sheets of blood. But yeah, so he says thank the wrestling gods when he clotted. Amazing match. I'm fine with getting color. I don't want to have to worry about your safety. You know what I mean?
Especially when they did that last week already.
Yeah.
Which that I was like, that's a short segment. That's fine.
Yeah.
This is like they hit an artery both times.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a lot.
Yeah. Does C says, does WWE still own This Fire Burns? Yeah. Because I thought he would come out to that. No, WWE does still own it. So
yeah,
no, I don't think that's going to happen. But one thing I did love before the match even started, Ben Dixon says MJF told Roberts to intro him as better than the best in the world, and Punk predicted it and asked to be introduced as the Second City Saint.
Love it.
That's so good.
They're so detailed, the two of them, like so detailed.
Yeah. So there's spots with the thumbtacks and everything, and then MJF crawls over to the ropes and starts yelling, "Wardlow!" And it's an accident. Certainly didn't happen on purpose. One of those things. But I thought it really took away from the moment when they realized what MJF was no longer attached to the dog collar, but the chain wasn't attached to his dog collar anymore. and they had to come over and attach it in that moment while he's waiting for Wardlow to come down. It just felt like it took away from the urgency of the whole thing. But like, obviously you can't do anything about it. It's just a thing that happened.
Yeah, and I try never to. I know everybody also thought that when Jericho fell off the cage and MJF pushed him, it looked so cheesy because he was obviously falling onto pillows. I have a hard time faulting production for things that are in wrestlers' best interest safety-wise, which I think is what that is. Those dog collars have to be gimmicked to keep people from actually choking each other, and it probably came detached from that. So it does, it breaks the emotion in those moments, but like, I can't ever fault anyone for that when it's probably a matter of safety for your wrestler. Like, that just, it makes too much sense. But of all the high drama moments.
Yes. But anyway, Wardlow comes down and he's in a suit. He's already showered. He looks like $1 trillion. And he walks down and Wardlow's like, the MJF is like, give me the ring. He's like, comes down. He's like, you know what? I think I forgot it. And I was like, is that the spot that Wardlow is going to like have to run back for the ring and MJF will blame him for not having the ring with him? Is that what we're going to do? Like, I suppose we could do that, but I kind of wanted something more direct. And because they like to read my mind, CM Punk pulled MJF into a GTS, and then he looks over at Wardlow, and Wardlow's like, you know what? I forgot. I put it in this pocket. Brings out the ring, just places it on the apron, and walks away. And Punk smiles, picks up the ring, puts it on, makes sure that MJF knows he's wearing it, punches him right smack dab in the middle of the face and pins him 1, 2, 3. Oh, by the way, the sell for the GTS that MJF like bounced back up and was standing there and then collapsed into the thumbtacks, and for a second was like, I'm unconscious. Then I was like, oh Jesus, I've landed in thumbtacks. That was so
that
good.
was so
that
good.
was so great.
If
so
you've
great.
ever had an all over body pain,
yeah,
that's like a very real reaction to that. I loved that cell. I loved that cell too. This was so good. This was better than I thought it was. And to me, there's a few things I like about it. One, Wardlow turned us back on MJF. MJF can whine about that forever. CM Punk also, he cheated. He cheated to win this match, and he's in the middle of like slowly turning heel, kind of. Well, and MJF can then complain about that too.
I mean, his whole thing is that, I mean, did I really? I mean, there was just a thing that was right there. I didn't bring the foreign object into the ring, which is great. Ring. I agree with you. Like, he is turning heel slowly, but like, I think that this is part of the nuance of that in that direction. Wardlow with the face of the face turn of the revolution, says Lord Jackson. Don't care who wins out of Sammy and Scorpio. That sirloin beef son of a bitch is going to powerbomb them into the core of the planet. We'll talk about that in a second. But I did like this one. Max Power 514 says, assuming he hangs on to it, that ring is going to corrupt Punk, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I love that idea. There's like, oh no, this is mine now. And I'm going to just like the idea of like Bilbo Baggins with the ring of like, why shouldn't I keep it? Why shouldn't I?
That's fun, especially because he's not a guy that would have a diamond ring, but he is a guy that would have an object that screws everyone over. So the fact that he like kind of inherited it,
and I love the idea that like he's gonna keep it because it just pisses off Max.
Yes,
but then he gets to like it. It gets to become a thing that's his now. That would be a really cool way to like help with that. That'd be great. Yeah, I like that a lot. Anyway, so Josh Weaver says this Fire Burns is a Kill Switch Engage song. They currently own the rights. Well, no, WWE bought the rights to the song from Kill Switch Engage in 2005 and have remained with the rights of it since. says Luis, who's our researcher. Just Weaver says, actually a very funny story about this Fire Burns and how it was supposed to be Randy Orton's music. This is also true. This match felt like the Foley and Triple H street fight from 2000, says Brody Man Hennessy. That is also true. Now, so what's happening here from here with Wardlow? What do you think is more likely? That because I think what's happening is that MJF is going to throw off the handle and be super pissed and go back on his word to take the title shot, to not take the title shot from Wardlow. That's kind of obvious. I think is where we're going out of this. But do you think MJF steals the title shot or the title from Wardlow? Because I think it's more snivelly and heelish to like let Wardlow win the match and then take the title belt from him, as opposed to, because he has apparently, he said in the spot with Mark Sterling a few months ago that he also reserves the right to take title shots, not just titles. So there's either way. I think that there's both things I could be presented for, but I do love the idea of allowing Wardlow to win the championship and then coming out and being like, thank you, that's mine now. I think is the perfect way for him to be maximum heel.
I think there's a couple routes you could go. A few that you haven't thrown out that I'll throw out as possibilities are they mend fences and MJF says the only way I'll forgive you is for you to give me the title shot. And then when MJF calls for him in that, Wardlow also doesn't come and lets Scorpio Sky retain or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or Wardlow, MJF costs Wardlow the match and Scorpio Sky retains that way. Because that keeps the title hot potato game out of it a little bit.
Right.
And I feel like Scorpio Sky deserves a real reign. But I feel like taking the shot away from Wardlow is like meaner somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Like Josh Weaver says, Wardlow wins and then MJF releases him from his contract, so he's forced to forfeit the TNT title. All of these little things I think are immediately null and void, because then Tony Khan would be like, yeah, I'm going to sign this guy because he's awesome. He won the ladder match, and look at him, this crazy win streak. I'm not going to let him like be a free agent. I'm going to sign him, which I feel like can be easily explained away by like having no. There's a non-compete. Like he can't sign in his contract. If I fire him, he can't go anywhere. Blah blah blah, kind of a thing. Like there's a way of getting around that to make the logic work. I wonder if Scorpio Sky just loses to Sammy Guevara anyway, especially if Max is going to be the one to actually get the title shot, because Max being the one to beat Sammy to end Sammy's reign feels more impactful than him beating Scorpio. But if Wardlow were to win, I feel like maybe him beating Scorpio, the heel, makes more sense. I'm not really sure either way, but I am very, because I believe this 100%. Wardlow versus MJF is your double or nothing match. I just don't know.
Yeah, it has to be. It's just how do you get there? Is it for a title?
Right. Yeah. All that stuff. But I'm very, very excited for that.
Just a fun quote coming out of the scrum real quick, because Sean is tweeting a lot of them. CM Punk is emotional over the AFI theme, and he tells Righteous Red she's happy with the ROH footage is in good hands instead of on a shitty app on a tab that doesn't work. I love him so much.
He's pretty great, huh?
I love him so much. And I think he unblocked Sean. It looks like based on the which just makes me happy.
That's good. On
a shitty app with the tab that doesn't work. Yeah. He just really give a fuck. I love that guy so much.
Phil Felice says it could be with the 2 belts. Wardlow gets to keep one of them. I don't know. That's interesting. I think maybe one of the reasons they've kept the 2 belts around is because a guy who would absolutely insist on carrying around 2 belts is MJF. And if they know they're going to actually give MJF a long title reign, him insisting on wearing both belts around his midsection so he comes out like this.
Such a dick move.
Such a dick move to do. I think that might be why they haven't gotten rid of one of them.
Do you know why I think that's the case?
Hmm.
Because Cody Rhodes has not signed with the WWE at this point.
Yeah, perhaps.
And I don't want to be false hope gal, but if they want to bring him back as a heel, that's a hell of a way to do it. But also the 2 belts look really cool.
Yeah. So here we go. This appears to be the thing that is people have marked as the most divisive, or let's say the low light of the match of the card. I think it was unfair to them to place this on the card where they did. Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa, especially knowing how they were going to build the match because of what they're going to do with it. Thunder Rosa looks fantastic in her ring gear as always. So cool. I love her ring entrance. Britt Baker looks great too. They have a new women's title belt. So then
it looks much better and very old school.
Fantastic, very old school. Love it. There was a lot of interference. We'll say that. I thought parts of the match were really great when it was just Rosa and Britt getting to work together. I thought there were some really good spots and some good stuff in there.
Rosa brings out the best in Britt. I'll say that.
She really does.
And everyone.
Yeah.
Just everyone who's in the ring with her.
Yeah. And then the ref gets to be stupid and be easily distracted, and things happen. So Rebel gets on the apron several times. They should have just ejected her, but they didn't, because this is the finish they were building to. This is I said it when Thunder Rosa pinned Britt Baker clean in that finish on Dynamite. I was like, they're planning something hinky, and they did. So everybody got involved over and over and over again. The damned numbers game, the distraction, people at ringside. Eventually, Rosa is able to get rid of both of them, but slides back into the ring for a curb stomp and the 1, 2, 3. So that's what happened. So your thoughts?
Okay. A couple things. On Fightful Select, if you want to subscribe for those $5, there were a lot of notes in AEW, and one of them was, and Sean didn't say which match, but the ending to one of the matches got switched several times. I think it was this one. Completely projecting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was this one, because I don't know. We're getting Rosa and legit Layla next week to get back here. It feels a little thrown together, and interference is such an easy way out. I didn't like the match. I would have rather had maybe one interference spot that was egregious, which justified a rematch. I just am, for as much momentum as this feud has had, it feels diluted by that. Now, I'll say this. When there's egregious interference, a great way to keep people away from a ring the next time 2 people meet is a steel cage. So if they give us a steel cage match in San Antonio and Rosa goes over, I will have more appreciation for this, even though as a matter of taste, I didn't like it, because there will have been a logical wrestling-based payoff. I still would prefer that it wasn't so heavy on it, but I think the way this was designed is to set us up for something like that. I still think it would be cool to do a Texas death match in San Antonio, but a steel cage match keeps people out of the cage. So as you kind of predicted yesterday and going into this. So I will appreciate this more after the fact if that's what they end up doing. I would still prefer if they had gotten there a bit of a better way, just because I feel like this is very, very played out in the Britt Baker reign. And for a reign that has mostly been the Challenger of the Month club, it's like, come on, this is like the one feud we're getting, and we don't even get to like see them blow off and hate each other and get angry and whatever. So it wasn't my favorite. I have a feeling this might have changed hands booking wise. The injury stuff is not true. Please don't believe that's out there. Shonda's confirmed multiple times and has a very close working relationship with Thunder Rosa. And she is not injured. So it wasn't that. But just, it wasn't for me, but I'm wondering if in 2 weeks I will at least understood this a little bit more. And it does actually a super chat rolling in with the point I was about to make. So we'll let Alan Jeanette make it. Thunder Rosa looked weak by not having backup, knowing Britt has support to interfere as they did. That's the thing, is it's like Thunder Rosa is too smart to not see that coming.
Especially since we know she has established backup.
Yeah, she has friends now.
She has Mercedes Martinez who watched her back and tagged with her on Wednesday. I would have loved if they knew they were going to do this finish to do a spot where Rebel hits Mercedes in the back of the knee with a lead pipe or something.
Some justification.
And so that's why Mercedes isn't cleared to come down to ringside for tonight, and that's why she's alone. Like, I understand. I get all of that. I'm going to read a lot of these things. There's a lot of the same ideas, but I get it. So Ryan Largent says, I'm done with a House of Torture level bull with Britt. And Rosa doesn't get an auto rematch while wasting Layla, not as her first defense. And Simmons 211 says the interference was really bad and made Britt look very weak as a champ because she was down for the 3 count and tapped more than once. All of those visual things, what with all the interferences, are meant to make you. But no, Rosa was cheated multiple times and she deserves this rematch, so that when she gets an automatic rematch, you're like, well, she deserves it. I mean, somebody else might not, but she does, specifically for all of these reasons. They are doing a lot of dog walking to get to that particular spot.
That's exactly what they're
doing. I do think they've had an eye on that. Like having like the 1 year anniversary of the St. Patrick's Day Slam lights out match in San Antonio, which is Thunder Rosa's home base. Like, they've had an eye on that for a while. I saw a lot of people who said, then don't have this match on the pay-per-view. And I'm like, okay, I think you might have been able to get away with like the tag match we saw on Wednesday here instead. And if Thunder Rosa wins, if her team wins, then she gets the title match.
Or Britt versus Mercedes.
Or Britt versus Mercedes, something like that. I don't know.
That's why I feel like this was the one that switched hands a few times. Like it feels a little bit like, we changed our minds because you're right about San Antonio. They probably saw what you had to say and were like, crap.
Yeah, I did. It was all my fault.
Yeah, it is
the Nerd Guru said also, I think if the hometown win for Rosa was the plan, they shouldn't have had this match tonight. Instead, have a women's Face of the Revolution ladder match. Well, that might have been interesting.
Ooh, that's interesting. Jade's next challenger, because Jade keeps beating everyone. Something like that, yeah.
R26 says, loved everything in the show minus the women's title match. Underwhelming match and lazy booking have been the two main things of Britt Baker's reign. Yeah.
Booking, yeah. There's been some memorable matches. The one with Sheeta was great. The one with Ruby I thought was awesome. The Chris Statlander one was my favorite.
Yeah.
And her Riho matches were pretty good. I'm just not the biggest Riho fan in the world, but like ring wise, certainly good enough.
Nerd Guru, Nerd Guru says, I know that they want Rosa to get the hometown win and all that, but why do this now then? We've known Britt can't win without interference already. This is the other thing about Britt, as I think we all were like, I think that there were a lot of people who were like, Sheeta's great, but there's just something missing from the women's division. I think Britt Baker being the champion is going to fix that. And no, it's not a magic elixir. You actually have to do the work and book the right feuds and stuff, and that wasn't done. And I think that's going to, now people are blaming Britt the way some people were blaming Hikaru Shida because, oh, you know, she doesn't speak English very well, or people can't get into her because blah, blah, blah. Like, no, it's none of these women's fault. Like, you got to do the work to get them over, to actually make the reigns feel significant. And some of that wasn't done.
And it's not a switch. Like, it takes time, and we've seen, I think, a lot of growth in the time of her reign, but the booking of her reign has not been great.
Yes. Lord Jackson says, I'm not surprised. Dental offices can double as houses of torture. Rosa is winning in Texas, but I would have preferred it tonight. I wonder what the stip will be. They need to keep people out, but also top last year. What about AEW's first Hell in a Cell? That would be interesting. The cage they had the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks in is so freaking immense. Like, if they could figure out a way to get that into San Antonio, there's no way Jamie Hayter is scaling that thing. And then you just you ban him from ringside. You say, like, not only can you not get in there or whatever, have the ref do the work. Get the hell out. If anybody tries to pass a kendo stick through the chain link, get the hell out. Like, have the ref actually do the work. But yeah.
Well, AEW refs are not great. I think it was Punk in an interview who, before that tag match with the giant cage that you're talking about, was like, hey, be safe. Don't do anything stupid off of it. And I guess Phoenix was like, ha, yeah, we'll try. And Punk was like, no, be safe. And they were like, sure.
I get you.
Oh yeah, no, I'll be safe, but like my version of safe, which is not normal people's. I don't understand how gravity works. I'm Ray Phoenix.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was such a fun story that I think it was on Renee's podcast. He was like, "Be safe," and they were like, "Sure."
Yeah.
Oops.
Ricardo Alidolo says 5 out of 5 pay-per-view. I love the show from top to bottom. My only complaint is that Britt won. Was expecting Rosa to snag that new belt. Love you guys. She'll snag that new belt on March 16th.
Wait, do you want to be petty really quick? Do you want
not really. Why would I want to be
It's petty? It's like a fun petty.
Well, sure, you be petty for me then.
Well, it's kind of Phil Lindsay being petty, who we love on Grapsity, who said, man, it kind of feels like the second that Brandy left, they got a new women's title, and the belt maker made it in the past 21 days because Brandy helped design that belt.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it was like Brandy's gone, we're making a new belt?
I mean, I don't, but sure. I suppose, I don't know.
This is something that Linda and Sheila can talk about at a later time, but I just thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah. Ryan Largent says that TBS championship is being booked far better than the women's world championship. I just feel like they don't know what they're doing with with the Britt Baker thing. It just felt like they didn't get enough.
It's lazy. We can say that. That's not like that malicious, but it is lazy.
Yeah. Brendan Tungate says the only bummer about this show is Rosa having to wait 10 days for her coronation, but that hometown pop is going to be cacophonous. I still think, like, we're all pissed about it now. The match that they have in the steel cage is going to be great because it's going to be the two of them, and that's it. Nobody else is going to be involved. It's going to be really great. And when Thunder Rosa wins, the place is going to go berserk for her. She's going to hoist that title up while sitting on top of the cage in the main event of Dynamite, and people are going to go crazy for her. And I think we're going to look at that and go, I don't like how they got here, but here is a pretty great place to be.
I think so too. And also, like, look at us in the same breath saying, like, we haven't really seen any women's feuds, and now they're extending a feud to be a best of 3, and we're still complaining about it. So we got to give a little bit on one end. I just feel like the way that this match was put together was not necessarily the best way to get there. But I think you're 100% right in that. I think 2 weeks from now, we're going to be elated.
Yeah. Josh Weaver says, I mean, they pretty much confirmed exactly what you said, Alex. Rosa is getting the belt in San Antonio.
You're so much more humble than I am. I would have been like, yes, I predicted it.
Nah, it's I've been wrong about a lot of things.
So have I. That
but,
makes the victory laps even sweeter. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm gonna crow about a prediction I got right in the next match, but Mark Losper now. Wait, hold on one second. N Simmons 211 says AEW Women's Division definitely needs some vets. I wish someone like Io Shirai was there, or AJ Lee came back pushing Serena Deeb would help also. They might need some new faces, a new structuring of what is the top of the card might be interesting. I think that Io Shirai would help any women's division. Io Shirai's kind of amazing. But yeah, so we got this thing. Mark Losper has said that if Britt Baker won tonight, then he would cash at me $50. Is what he said. Mark Losper tonight said, "I don't care about the anniversary, whether there's Dynamite in her hometown. If you're going to crown a champion, crown them on the pay-per-view." I get it, and they understand that the pay-per-view is going to be great regardless, but they want major things happening on Dynamite every week, and that would qualify as a major thing.
You know what's interesting? We got no title changes tonight.
Nope.
And it was a great pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of stories finished still.
Yeah.
And it was a great pay-per-view and no title changes. I didn't realize that until this moment. That's really interesting.
Because we're going to get title changes in the next couple of weeks. Like
yes,
the TNT title is going to change hands at least once. And the women's title is going to change hands. Tag title is probably going to change hands at Battle of the Belts. Like we're going to get we're going to get a bunch of stuff. Mark Losper says, "I saw 3 things on this pay-per-view because I was working. The tag match, the ladder match, and this god-awful finish. This was overbooked tripe."
It was kind of like ECW overbooked. This was a lot.
Mark Losper says, "I've never been so mad to work the day of a pay-per-view. The parts I saw were incredible, other than the stupid Brit finish that cost me $50. To Alex, 5 stars. And then he says, he said it here. He said, where did he say it? I want to click on the thing. He says, "Also, Alex, DM me your PayPal. I'm not taking your money, but we'll figure out a charity you can donate to. Okay.
Or you can buy us more time on Tuesday nights. Send it to Sean. Sean is easily bribed.
Yeah. That's true.
That actually makes us more money. If you do it that way, you'll be making Alex more money potentially.
Mm-hmm. Going back to that dog collar match, Samuel Hernandez sent in a super chat saying that dog collar match humped so much, so happy that I was there and got to see it in person. You were there? Samuel Hernandez. You were there? Do you also just flip your hair back and forth when you say it?
Gimmick infringement, pal. But I'm so glad you got to experience that live. What an awesome experience.
Yeah. Okay. The next match was Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. And again, this I thought should have been kept far away from the dog collar match, because it is a dog collar match without a dog collar. These guys, neither one of them are going to run from each other. They're never going to be further than 12 feet from each other. They're always going to be at each other's throats, beating the shit out of people, out of each other, and they're both going to bleed. And all of that happened. All of that happened. And so it felt like it was like the other match that was like the same thing that we saw before 2 matches ago, which is
similar
a hard
pace and
like it's a hard thing to do. But these guys are 2 of the very, very best in the world. Jon Moxley, I don't think like Bryan Danielson's the best in the world.
Yeah, arguably ever.
Right. Jon Moxley, I think, is my favorite professional wrestler right now.
Really?
Just the way he moves around. There was that one where he got snapmared and then kicked in the back.
Oh my god.
And this is the way he was like, all right, okay. You know what? Now it's on, you motherfucker. Like, it was just this wonderful, imperceptible of like, that hurt, and I'm going to now hurt you more.
Storytelling was hard because it took me a minute to get into, but the storytelling was so good because it wasn't about victory for the sake of victory. It was about victory for the sake of one-upmanship.
Yeah.
And the fact that Danielson has beat Mox every single time. Right. Danielson, for a guy who wasn't good at promos.
Yeah.
He mentioned William Regal last week, didn't he?
He did.
And there's been things like in interviews right before the 1 hour Broadway, he dropped an interview where he said, it's fun having shorter matches in AEW because I can just go so balls to the wall.
Yeah.
And then he did a 1 hour Broadway. He's constantly doing those things on top of like promos on screen being so great. But I think I'm gonna go back and watch a lot of this pay-per-view at a different time, like post the dog collar match stuff, because I think this was a great match. I was just like so exhausted emotionally in a good way, but the storytelling between the two of them was fantastic. Like, this we're gonna bleed together thing, God, it was the physical manifestation of everything they've been saying for the past few weeks. It really, really was it was like, you hit me, you son of a bitch, well, I hit you. And then the situation where they were like both face to face and kicking each other's chests was just
it was great.
Oh God, just so good. And clearly two guys that are familiar with each other, you know, that always adds a bonus layer, because I think there's just an extra layer of comfort as a wrestler, it seems like. Yeah. So it was a great match. It got a little bit lost on me. I did not like it where it was on the card, but the surprise we got, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Mox got a win for the first time in his career.
Yeah, we'll talk about Brent Lockman says that Mox saw Danielson versus Suzuki and said, "I'll have what they're having." It did feel a lot like that match. This was really great.
It on commentary a couple times.
The horn of myself that I will toot is I predicted the finish of this match.
You did.
Which was that that Danielson's gonna have too much fun stretching Mox in every which way and trying to get Mox to tap out, but Mox isn't going to. Mox just won't. He refuse. You'll have to break all of his limbs to do that. So while Danielson is like, what other crazy pretzel can I get you to twist in? Mox is gonna surprise him with a crazy pin. And Danielson's gonna get pinned before he even knows what happened. And that's what they did. And I was like, holy shit. Hey, awesome. My thing happened. Like, that was the one time of all the things I predicted tonight. I was like, that's a thing that I said. Because I did not, everyone I saw was predicting Danielson was going to win. I was like, I think the story is better here if Mox sneaks one out, both for Mox and for Danielson. Once you've already figured out how to get, you've already given Danielson his first loss. Now it doesn't feel like, he doesn't have to win all these matches. And Mox gets his first win versus Danielson, and it's a way to prove that, like, not only is he is a tough son of a bitch, but he's also smart and resilient. And it's why Danielson wanted to work with this guy in the first place. Danielson wouldn't respect a guy who couldn't beat him. Like, there's some really great, but like, stuff here. But I loved that Danielson got up in the face of the ref.
And the ref pushed back. Good for that ref. He was not going to be a doormat. I liked that about that ref.
I thought that was really great. But then Mox and Danielson kept fighting. And I was like, is this where Claudio comes out? I was like, no, it's even better. It's even better. Because Regal came out. William Regal walking down the side of the ramp, around to the side with a look of concern and anger and disappointment, like a pissed off father whose two adult sons are beating each other up at the family reunion. I loved this. My God. Oh,
You know what? The only small thing, and it's not even a bad thing because I think it kept the surprise intact. At no point did it occur to me that William Regal was also Dean Ambrose. I'm wearing a Dean Ambrose shirt, by the way. Was also Dean Ambrose's mentor. And Danielson said, I was mentored by guys like William Regal, and Moxley did not respond and say, hey, so was I.
Yeah.
Which I think kept the surprise intact a little bit, but what a fantastic. And he comes and he slaps him in the fucking face.
Oh no, because Mox won't back down. He's walking toward him. He's going to smack him around. You get in line, and then Danielson's like, ha 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 ha, Dad likes me more, and then Regal slaps him in the face and says, "You two shake hands now." And it was just awesome because shaking hands is what we do. Kate,
honor is real.
In Ring of Honor, we shake hands after the match.
We do.
God damn, that was great.
And amazing. Like, there's a reason William Regal has had the career he's had. Like, he just came in and like he had been there his whole life. Like, he had been in the storyline for a year. Like, the immediacy with which he was just plopped in there and made it feel like he was a part of this story is so incredible and insane and amazing. I love it so much. Out of all the possible surprises that were running through my head, Samoa Joe, Swerve showed up, Claudio. I did not think Redbeard was going to show up Friday. No. I did not think William Regal was going to show up here in this way. Like, oh my God, my little wrestling Mark heart was just going insane. And it made me happy for me as a fan because I know the impact he's going to have on the product. And Tony Khan, I guess, said in the presser that he's going to be booking ROH, but I cannot imagine you wouldn't have somebody like Regal who has all the developmental experience coming over, not be involved in some way, maybe not booking. But just the impact he's going to have on the product makes me so happy for me as a viewer. And the fact that he has a job with the superior, in my opinion, creative wrestling company and the second biggest wrestling company in the world that can probably compensate him the way he deserves to be compensated made me so happy for that guy because he just comes across as the best dude. Yeah. Like he really, really does. And everybody had such wonderful things to say about him on their way out and how there wouldn't be Becky Lynch, an FTR, a Bailey without William Regal. So I'm selfishly so excited as a fan and overwhelmingly excited for what that means for the product.
Right. We got all these people who are reacting to Regal. Regal is the biggest thing that's going to.
You have to read them in your Regal voice, though, please.
Oh my God. C says, "How has William Regal come before Veer?" Chris Rain says, "Just got home from the cinema and it was amazing. The whole theater erupted when Regal came out."
That cinema experience rules. You got to do it.
That would have been a pretty great one. Honestly, that would have been a pretty great moment. Long suffering fan says, "I just want to thank you guys for keeping me company on my 2-hour trip home from the bar with my friends. Hella fun. Regal popped my socks off. Good night." Well, thank you, long suffering fan. I love keeping people company on their commutes and stuff. When I get messages like that, it always makes me feel like,
oh, me
hey,
too.
Cool. Green Da Vinci says, "William Regal, what do you guys think?" We love it. I was so excited when I saw him. I was like, "Oh, this is just so perfect," and just
what
like
a cool way for him to show up.
Oh, what a great way! What a great way! Because JB Love says, "Surely what we saw tonight after Mox and Bryan Danielson was the uneasy triumvirate set to run ROH, right? War Games." Yeah, that would be that would be interesting if that was.
Joe's got to come, right? Like, there's no way Joe's not on his way. He's got to.
I retweeted this. I saw somebody, I think, replied to a Sean Ross Sapp tweet with like, "Grapple Fuck University. with Professor Emeritus William Regal is the best fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm so excited. Grapple Fuck University is like, yeah, with Professor Emeritus William Regal. C says, I still can't get over seeing William Regal on my screen. The Regal between Moxley and the Dragon of Violence. Lord have mercy. Ben Dixon saying, will we get a funnier reaction from his angry dad? Have his angry dad Inoki character finding out about Luchasaurus, Orange Cassidy, or Danhausen? That's very interesting. How he would react. You're telling me you're an actual dinosaur? That's interesting.
I've been cursed.
So
what do you mean I've been cursed?
Curses. Blast. You put your hands in your pockets. Do you have anything in there? Or
human teeth. You carry around human teeth in a jar.
Yeah. Mark Losper says there are a lot of incredible reasons to bring him in, but if Cody was WWE's attempt to try to lure AEW guys, Regal is an incredible hedge against that. Yeah, like you can study under William Regal in AEW. Like that's a pretty awesome thing.
Guys, I just feel more and more like the way time goes on that Cody is not gonna go to WWE.
Regal on being the elite. That would be great. Nick William Regal, an amazing super chat from you, Nick. You're the greatest. A Joy Bag of Donuts says, you're a Kalex, Mark. When William Regal appears, and the first thing I thought was, yay, more Alex impersonations. Fantastic.
Joey is super, super awesome to us and in general, and he's a Steelers fan. I'm actually going to be on his podcast tomorrow, as long as we're not doing it at like 7 a.m, because I will be asleep. But that's not usually when we record, but we're going to be doing a Revolution breakdown then. But thank you, Joey, for that. And I also thought that as Alex's co-host, like, oh, fun Wheel of Impressions work is going to be done.
James Bowers says, Regal slapping the taste out of Mox and Danielson's mouth was just delicious. War Games! Regal as TK's on-screen GM? I hope so. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with him, but it's going to be great because it's going to be Regal. Pile Driver Finisher says, can I get Alex saying Wardlow in Regal's voice? Wardlow!
You're going to get to do that so
much. Brandon Joseph says somehow TK buying ROH only ranks in the top 5 of crazy ass things after the few days.
I cannot keep up with the news cycle. Keith Lee was less than a month ago, and it feels like 6 years ago. Yeah. Like, it's nuts. I don't know how Sean does it, sincerely.
Brett Lockman says, first reaction to Regal. Well, that's at least adding at least an hour to the post show. With all these super chats, it might. Marco Dominguez says, trademarks be damned. Please name the Mox Danielson team War Games with Regal as their manager. Peyton Carter says, OMG, this was a fantastic pay-per-view. One of the best pay-per-views I've ever seen. Regal showing up popped me so loud that I probably woke the neighbors. I could not believe that he showed up, man. That was crazy.
I feel like I've said that about the past 3 pay-per-views. I think All Out, Full Gear, and this, I have said these are some of the best pay-per-views I've ever seen in my life. Any brand.
JB Love says, I was wondering how long it would take before the first Regal impression. I'm not disappointed. He sent that right after I said the first words of the show. Charge Holier says, Regal, that is all. I like this content. Syndral sends a humper chat saying, Regal was literally my favorite wrestler back in WCW. Seeing him show back up again like this in AEW made my absolute freaking night. I am beyond pumped.
Regal of Honor, baby. Regal of Honor. Let's go.
He's I firmly believe this. He's the greatest and maybe even the only good on-screen authority figure we've ever seen in wrestling. I would love him being the person who makes matches, like, or settles disputes or whatever. Like, he's He's so good in that role. But there were plenty of times where he would settle it between people in NXT. He never got around to slap people in the face, but it was basically the same idea, verbally at all. Did you see Pete Dunne's tweet?
No.
Right after this, Pete Dunne shows video of him during the first ever NXT UK tournament where he was injuring people on purpose. And William Regal he's standing on the stage, being Pete Dunne, and William Regal just storming through Gorilla and throwing him up against the wall, and him being like, "Oh," and his tweet just says, "We've all been there." Pete Dunne, you're the greatest.
What I love about Regal is he, like, in NXT, how I interpreted it was still a workplace. Like, it was a place where combat happened in the ring. But there's still rules you're supposed to be following, like, behaviorally. Yeah. And you don't get to just create your own matches. You don't just get to slap the shit out of people. Nope. Like, I loved that about Regal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so happy. I'm just so happy.
It's so good. Hobo in the corner says, I blew out my voice, gave myself a headache, and started hyperventilating when Regal showed up. 10 out of 10 would destroy my own body again. Brent Lockman says, Regal can't still wrestle, can he? Nope. He hung those up, which is maybe he can. Maybe the fountain of youth will infect him the way it infected Sting.
No, we'll get to that. But what's so cool to me too is, and I didn't love the last rendition of Jericho, but you have two of the best character minds in wrestling, in my opinion, working at AEW in Jericho and Regal, because I do think Jericho's adaptability is some of the best we've ever seen in wrestling. Yeah. And between him and Regal, I feel like you have some of the best character work. Excellent.
Yeah. Ellen Mark says, does Regal stay on AEW or bring Bryan Danielson and Mox to Ring of Honor War Games? I'm very intrigued to see how all of this shaking hand stuff feels like it's pointed. It's a very pointed stuff.
I don't know if it was just like a passing homage or not. You know what I mean?
I'm intrigued. It feels like it's important. Losper says, I can't think of a guy in wrestling more universally respected than William Regal. He brings absolutely everything to the table. Just incredible. Like, not only what do you get from him on screen, but knowing what he can bring to the entire company off screen is just amazing. Mark Losper says that I need Regal running ROH on Tuesdays against NXT.
That's old NXT versus new NXT. Basically, that's what that is.
That's what that would wind up being.
Ring of Honor with a production budget and William Regal is NXT 1.5.
Yeah. Boy, that one made me think to myself, holy shit, there's more show after that. Like, it was like, we still have the title match is what I thought when Regal, like, when that thing ended, and then we're like, oh no, we still have this trios match, the Tornado Trios match. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. What? Like, let's just get that out of the way. Do your spots, Sammy Guevara and Isaiah Cassidy, and let's move on to the title match, which will be great. And then we can go on, do our post show, which will last 3 hours, where we talk about Regal for a lot.
Yeah, but I was like, do your spots, Sting.
Sting.
Alex, he's 62 years old.
Sting was born during the Eisenhower administration. That is a shoot. That man was born in the 1950s. In the 1950s, Kate, Dwight David Eisenhower was president when Sting was born. And the amount of wars that guy's lived through is a lot. Beer What says, hey, Kalex, Sting. Axel Hunter saying, celebrating my friend's 8-year-old saying Sting's just being the icon. And his 13-year-old finally got into it from Orange Cassidy in the Punk match tonight. Love to see it.
Sting's just being the icon.
Sting's just being the icon. Just being
My
the icon.
heart.
That's all. This match was fun. There was a lot of crazy spots to begin with.
The Spanish fly off through the tables onto the stage.
They split up into two. Like, here's the deal. It was a 3-on-3 match, but it really was like a 3-on-7 match because all of the AHFO was out there. Like, Jose was actually like taking bumps. Butcher and the Blade showed up. Marquen was actually not in the match, but he was definitely in the match. So it split up, and it was like a Private Party versus Sammy Guevara on the stage. And out in the crowd was Andrade and Hardy and Sting and Darby.
And Paige Van Zandt for some reason.
They kept showing them up on the crowd for some reason. But Butcher and the Blade showed up, and at some point they built 4 tables. They put tables into onto a thing right out in front of the balcony. And the Butcher came out and was doing that. Remember that spot that Nia Jax used to do to people a few years ago, where she would like
injuring other people?
Yeah, that where she would like swing somebody back and forth into the barricade
and
over again. Well, he was doing that to Darby. And Darby was like, "Yes, please, more. Thank you, sir. May I have another?" Of course, I have to mention this. I don't know what this Darby Allin thing is doing. When he makes his entrance for a pay-per-view, he's always got to show a student film. You know, like he went out and he got a bunch of hobos and paid him $5 to stand around while a black and white camera films him doing something weird. He crashes a car into something and he gets out of the car wearing a skinned Muppet of some kind. And then Sting shows up with a flamethrower, and I'm like, I don't understand any of this. This feels like one of those art house movies that one of my ex-husbands used to drag me to. But I just thought to myself, like, what is this? Because Sting is Darby's father now. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? Hey, Dad, I got a part for you in my newest student film. And like, we're really, I don't have time for that this week. I'm totally swamped down at the office. Well, Dad, in this film, you get to wield a flamethrower. Okay, what time would you need me? Because I think that this thing was just so excited to wield a flamethrower in this student film. Darby, there's no need for the student films, Darby. We know how special you are. It's okay.
Matt, who I do the Mark Order podcast with, and who I referenced earlier from the Shining Wizards, he calls him Darby Avant-Garde now. Just like my favorite thing in the world. So we call him a Darby Avant-Garde on the podcast. Anyway. Darby Avant-Garde can knock it off with the student films. And I also appreciate friend of the show, Bob O'Neill, saying, if I was Sting and I had a flamethrower, I would simply use it like in the match. Especially
the match.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Anyway, the big spot, there are 2 big spots. One of them is happening on the stage where they were gonna do something crazy to Sammy on the tables, but Sammy fights off Marquen and then climbs up to Isaiah Cassidy, and they do a Spanish fly through the tables, and both of them appear to be dead. So that was
the fly swatter at that point.
That was crazy. Like I don't know which one of them took it worse, but they both did not appear to be. They did not factor into most of the match, nor even close to being the finish. But we got Matt Hardy taking Sting up to the balcony so that he could throw him, I guess, off onto the tables. But Sting fights him off, and Andrade is like laying on the table at this point. And Sting, 62 years old, born in the 1950s. Eisenhower administration Sting just does a New Jack dive off the top of the balcony through a bunch of tables. Like, what?
I'll say this. Like, for somebody who was born in a decade where sock hops were a thing, that's insane. It's insane for anyone, never mind a 62-year-old. That looked about as protected as it could be. It really, really, really did. I he landed at the right part of the table. Andrade looked like he was in the right spot to help break the blow. It was definitely the lowest balcony that was in the stadium that they were at, or the arena.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, it's actually not that far of a drop. It makes me nervous with spots like this, but it seems like everything he's done, as risky as it's been, has thankfully been as well protected as it can. But he's a 62-year-old man. That just makes me a little nervous. This also was pretty short. It was high energy. It was a good thing to put on before your main event after some slower paced matches, after something nobody wanted Britt to go over. Like, it was well placed on the card. You got your crazy spots, and nobody turned on each other. Darby didn't turn on Sammy. You don't have any turning on the other side either. No Jeff Hardy yet. I'm sure we'll see that very soon as reported.
March 9th is when his non-compete is up.
Tuesday. Beautiful. Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So we got Ronald Hollick saying, never before in my life would I bet on seeing the person taking a New Jack spot is Sting. Insane. R.I.P. New Jack. Brent Lockman said Sting is nuts, gloriously, gleefully nuts. He really does feel like he's having a renaissance. He just loves doing all this crazy stuff.
So fun.
Class Thoreau says, Sting brought me back to my childhood with that dive, but Andrade is the one who really makes me feel like a child because despite his spot on the card, he feels like a larger-than-life expert of the craft. Andrade is just so great, and they got to get him out of this wacky stuff he's doing and treat him like seriously and make him.
I think they're on their way. Champion. I feel like he's only recently found like who he's going to be in AEW. So I think they're on their way. I
agree. JB Love says Grandpa be crazy, which is what Sting's grandkids say to him, probably.
Yeah.
Ben Dixon says, who would you rather have as your wrestling dad? Regal to keep you in line, or Sting to indulge and encourage your wild ideas?
I would say it's best for me to have Regal to rein me in.
Yeah.
I don't need encouragement being an idiot.
Yeah. Josh Weaver said you'd think HBK would have taught Andrade that you never wear brown ring gear. I'll allow it because it was part of a suit and was a really awesome new mask he wore to the ring too. It was pretty great.
That was really cool.
And Mark Losper makes a very good point. He's not just a 62-year-old man. He's a 62-year-old man that was permanently on the shelf due to an injury. Like Sting is actually remarkable. That I'll never forget watching that Buckle Bomb live and be like, "Oh my God,
his career's over.
They just killed Sting." Like,
yeah. Best case scenario, his career's over. Worst case scenario, he's dead.
That was crazy. But anyway,
freakish scenario too.
Yes, true. The finish of this match was Darby Allin not hitting a coffin drop on Matt Hardy because Matt Hardy rolled out of the way and Darby Allin missed him and then pinned him. So I'm pretty sure Matt wasn't supposed to roll out of the way, but he absolutely did. And Darby hit nothing and pinned him anyway. And that was just weird. But
I think he was supposed to try and look like he kind of had it scouted, but he just rolled all the way out of the way.
I guess. Yeah. So now we're at the main event. Kate.
It's time for your main event.
Adam Cole came out wearing Halo armor,
baby,
which did not. It made him look even smaller somehow because it just was just like this. I don't know. It I don't know. It just didn't feel right for him. But yeah, whatever. The match was great.
Let's talk about Adam Page's gear, not to get like overly political at anything, but it was rainbow colored and inspired by the LGBTQIA community, I think, in response to the Don't Say Gay bill that was being passed in Florida as like allyship, because he's a teacher in his shoot job, and that is something that would wildly affect him. That's my champion. Looking out for the kids.
He's great. No, this match was actually really, really great.
It was so good.
They work really, 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 really well together. There's a lot of NXT 1.5 in Adam Cole, and a lot of the worst parts about those matches that he had have been stripped away. and that's great too. He's just a really fine professional wrestler. Like, he's just really, really, really great at it. And you know what? Like, he's going to be champion at one point, but this wasn't his time. And Paige, you can say nothing bad about any of the things that Paige has done as champion. He had those 2 amazing matches versus Danielson. He went to war with Lance Archer and hit a buckshot off the back of a ref. And then he had this match versus Adam Cole. I think, unfortunately, sometimes the storylines that are the best have nothing to do with the championships. And that's the problem. I think if you could figure out a way to make a storyline like the MJF and CM Punk storyline, like put that in the world title picture, people wouldn't be like, well, I'm kind of done with the whole reign of this. People wouldn't be done with the reign of whoever is champion if the storylines getting to the great matches felt as compelling.
And nobody was when it was Danielson, because that was a very carefully crafted story.
Right.
Lance Archer was not a carefully crafted story. This became a crafted story, but it came together way too quickly. So again, not a reflection on Paige. Just this is what happens with creative sometimes. It's a very, very, very loaded thing. I will say, and I know I'm a mark, so I always try and say these things with a grain of salt about CM Punk, but what he did with Eddie felt like it expanded the confines of a wrestling match. What he did with MJF is one of the most viscerally emotive stories that I've seen in wrestling in a really long time. If Punk is the guy to dethrone Adam Page, I feel like the story getting there is going to be awesome. And the story that unfolds within the match is going to be awesome. And I think you're going to be able to look back, if Punk does dethrone him, I think you're going to be able to look back at Adam Page's run and say, the Danielson stuff was great. The Archer match was unforgettable for reasons other than the story. This match was great, and the Punk stuff was great. I think the reign will have been a success. It just gets lost in the shuffle of these, Bryan Danielson's on the most legendary run in wrestling history maybe ever. Sure. It's just hard. It's hard. And I think it's easy to get lazy about creative around the title because you're like, oh, it's already the most important thing in the company because it's for the title, right? But you still have to build the story around it. Punk will bring that out of him in a really great way.
Yeah, that is true. Josh Weaver saying it was great seeing Chugs from Up, Down, Down getting the main event with his Halo-inspired gear tonight. I'm sure Creed was proud.
The party is mostly in AEW now. Almost.
Or will be soon.
Yeah, assuming Claudio's coming.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought. I mean, it looked really good. It just felt weird, and out of the blue for this particular. I know it's actually true to who he is. But anyway, I thought that they were just throwing bombs at each other, big move after big move after crazy big move. But they always to me, sold the weight of them in between.
Yes.
There was not here's an extended thing where I am in control and I'm going to be doing small things to you and pinning you and you'll kick out at 2 over and over again and I'll get angry. It was just I'm going to hit you with the craziest thing I can do and then I'll pin you and then you'll kick out. And then we're both going to be man, this is hard. And then you hit me with something crazy and then I'll kick out and we're going to be, this really sucks for both of us. And it just felt like we're both just you know what? After this, I'm going to be in traction, but I'm going to be champion. And that was some really good stuff, man. The dead eye through the table because Red Dragon comes out, and I was just immediately throw them out of the ring, immediately Remsburg, just be no, leave. Don't even come down to the ring, leave because they're not there to be they're not licensed managers. Get the hell out.
Or there to cheer on their friend. They're definitely not there to cheer on their friend either.
There were a bunch of dueling Adam chants that were really great.
Killed me.
Yeah.
Let's go, Adam.
Adam sucks.
So funny. So funny.
The one I loved with the best was both these Adams.
Yep, that was my favorite.
Both these Adams. Fight for Adam was great.
I didn't hear that one.
Fight for Adam. Clap, 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 clap. But they set up a table. They set up a table for ostensibly for Adam Cole to put Hangman through, but Hangman put his own knees through the table with the dead eye, and I was like, that hurts me just watching it.
Yeah. He takes a lot of punishment. That's an underrated thing with Adam Page. He takes a lot of really, really punishing moves.
Right. But Red Dragon gets involved, so all of the Dark Order come out and beat the hell out of them and not get them away from the ring, so it can be just one-on-one. There was a buckshot that took Adam Cole for a loop, like a crazy flippy dippy sail, but he landed close to the ropes and was able to reach out and touch the ropes. I thought that that looks bad. Because usually when we hit our finisher and it doesn't actually lead to the end of the match, that's bad. But there's a last shot and there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens between them. It was so really great. But one thing I will say is that the buckshot that finished him was not a flippy dippy cell.
No,
like it looked like it knocked him out. Like the way that Cole sold it, where like he landed with one arm like straight up,
boom, yeah,
like that was great. And that was what finished him 1, 2, 3. But like they were trading bombs. Like it was a really, really good match. I'll say that.
It was really good, and what I appreciated about it was there was a lot of back and forth, and it didn't seem inconceivable that the challenger wouldn't win. So to have a back and forth match just felt very suspenseful. Like to have it produced that way, I thought was very smart. And I liked that it felt like they were sizing each other up and strategizing in between those. Because Adam Page kind of works at a slower pace because he has all these crazy spots. Mm-hmm. So I just liked that there was, even though the pace of the match was kind of up and down, every moment of it was filled with something. And it felt really nice to have that. Adam Cole's so good, man. Just little things of his facial expressions. When he did reach the ropes after that buckshot, how faintly he put his hand on the rope. Yep. Like, really, really strong stuff from Adam Cole in this. Loved it. And as silly as he can be, like, this got very, very serious. And it felt like the main event that it needed to feel like, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And I loved, they're really good at this. Really, really good at this. Because this is the second time in a row where they could have had so many things happen storyline-wise. And you know what? After the Dark Order ran him off, that was it. It was just Adam versus Adam, and then Adam won. So, and then, and Adam lost, of course. But Adam won. Adam lost. Adam controlled his narrative. Adam, not so much. Yeah. But I love how much they just leave stuff alone, because Kenny could have come back. Jay White could have been there. So many the Bucks could have come down. Like, no, they just let them wrestle their match, and I just love when they do that. Just leave it alone. Beautifully done. And a great way to close this pay-per-view.
Josh Weaver says the subtle nod to Kenny when Cole went to hit the boom, the last shot, and Hangman just fell flat on his face. That was just Jeff's kiss. That was amazing. Mark Losper says Adam Page is the best dude, plain and simple. He really is. He did lower the boom on Glenn Jacobs the other day. That was pretty great. But Mark Losper says Adam Cole is the master of these types of spot fests and has been forever. I can't wait to watch the replay of this. Class the Row. I've liked Cole in AEW, but hadn't followed him before. But holy shit balls. He and Hanger meshed so well and put on an incredible match that had me silently screaming, trying not to wake up my fiance.
You're a good fiance. She appreciates that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
She doesn't know how hard it was.
Yes.
This was great, and they have, if you didn't know who Cole was before, they have extensive history in ROH and New Japan, if you have a desire to go back and dig into it. But
And Simmons 211 says Miro needs to take the belt off of Hangman. Imagine those Miro's promos on God's favorite versus the man who never thought he was good enough. I love Miro. I really do. I cannot get away from this idea of Punk turning heel blatantly in the face of Hangman, whom we all love, and giving us the summer of Punk after Double or Nothing. But Brent Lockman says feels like if Punk is up next, we'll get that storyline for Adam Page, where the story is the storyline is there that not just the great matches, but the storyline as well.
Yes, and in the scrum, it sounded like Punk said he was coming for. I mean, you always say you're coming from the champion, but realistically, it is a next logical step. And we also have to be realistic about the fact that Punk is 43 and does not take painkillers for anything. So he might not last until his 50s or be doing dives like Sting in his 60s. And I think you want to catch him while he's still doing work like this in a championship reign.
There's gonna be a world title reign. I can't believe they wouldn't be like, well, if we're only gonna get one out of him, let's make it a Summer of Punk. Like it
makes too much sense.
Makes too much sense.
And like he can do so much for the roster with it as far as putting over younger talent in the process. Like it's going to be healthy for the product.
Yeah. Matthew Makovsky says, let's go Adam. Adam sucks. I saw one person in the chat was saying, oh, bask in these Adams. Bask in these Thank you guys. We're going to go through the rest of these super chats and be done. Be out of here in a hot, tight 3 hours. Probably not, considering all these super chats I got to read. You
guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this long.
N. Simmons saying Regal being the father of this stable is great. And when Mox and Bryan start recruiting young talent, Regal is the super hard-ass teacher who keeps order. I love it. That would be great. That would be fantastic. Let's see here. We got the Don Callis and Kenny Omega promo. Now, this is the other thing that was really funny because we were both talking about how Kenny Omega should come out, and that's how this match, the Adam versus Adam match, will probably have its finish. But no Kenny Omega. Brandon Joseph says Kenny said in an interview in February that he still needs hernia surgery due to COVID delays. Once he does, it'll still be 6 to 8 weeks until he can return. So we won't be getting Kenny for a while. But it might be cool if he could still just appear on television and hint toward just my wishful thinking. But I did love,
since we're playing fantasy book.
Yeah.
Punk turns heel on Page, wins the title. Kenny Omega comes back as a face, and that's Punk's first challenger.
Yeah.
Face Kenny Omega versus Punk.
Yeah.
Woo!
Brent Lockman says Excalibur offering to pay Shivani $500 to punch Callis was worth the segment. That was fun. Yeah. Oh, by the way, after Page won, he walked over and picked up Adam Cole's unconscious hand and shook it.
Oh man, the handshakes all over the place tonight. That was my favorite one.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Still a sign of respect because he's the face.
Brent Lockman saying, "Love the vicious side of Page we saw." Yeah, he was not going to lose his title tonight. He made sure of that.
He dug in.
I love me some Sova says, "Have Punk win it in Chicago at All Out." No, he should lose it in Chicago at All Out. That is my ultimate fantasy booking.
Eddie Kingston, and somehow because he's been such a horrible bastard since May. From like at the end of May until September, for all of that summer, he's been the worst dude in the world. Even Chicago will root for Eddie Kingston to do it. I know it's never going to happen, but that's what I want. You might not be that far off too, because Chicago is also a smarky crowd. Like they might play along. They might, but then also at the same time, they had MJF just be a face in Long Island. So
yeah,
who knows?
TJ Ridgway says, can you imagine getting a whole summer of Punk? Maybe he even starts a group to keep the title, and the only one to stop him is Bryan's group or Kenny. Yeah.
I think, apparently, because again, Punk nerd, a lot of his interviews. He's been just backstage pitching ideas, like just ways that him and Danielson could tag, even though they're opposite sides of the coin. He's just dying to tag with Danielson. I think you take advantage of the fact that they're both heels at the same time and see what happens there.
Yeah. William Tucker says, I was with you laughing about MSG. Enjoyed tonight.
Oh,
Watch you both instead of NXT. Any concern AEW is overextending themselves? Not yet.
Slightly, but now that they have ROH, I'm like, I wasn't worried that they were overextending themselves. I was worried that the roster was getting bloated and we were going to lose sight of people. If they use ROH to leak down some of their mid-card to lower card talent, I think that is going to help tremendously. So the one thing that I'm the most concerned about, I think they're in the process of addressing, because I also think you're going to want to bring in Claudio. You're going to want to still bring in guys that are super valuable and well-known. So that was my only concern with where they were at. I have no reason to believe that them having the pedal to the metal the way they have is going to slow down anytime soon. Not because of the signings, but because their storytelling has been so fundamentally strong, which to me, as a matter of taste, is the thing that makes pro wrestling great.
Yeah. Corey M says that Revolution has been their most consistent pay-per-view, in my opinion. It's been a really great one. Like they consistently have like 85% of the show is just like top notch.
That Cody MJF one that was the first one, right? Like,
I think so. Yeah.
I remember looking at that, like, that is a perfectly booked pay-per-view. It cannot get better than this. And then they were like, JK, yes, it can, several times in ways.
Yeah. The Nerd Guru says, what more could we ask for? The only match that was a dud for many reasons was Britt versus Rosa. But we got William Regal, amazing. Punk versus MJF was perfect. Adam versus Adam was amazing. And Sting is a crazy man.
Sting is a crazy man.
Sting is a crazy man.
Everything you said is true.
The Nerd Guru says, Regal said, I lost the Wednesday Night Wars, so I'm sending the troops over, and I'll follow suit to slap some fools and headbutt people. TK is a wild man.
What do you think Triple H is thinking right now? Like, he's just got to be so sad.
Yeah.
I just want to address this, even though it's not a super chat. Punk not taking painkillers after a night like tonight feels insane. Yeah. He had stitches in his head after his skull was busted open and didn't take them. So seems more insane as a 43-year-old, I think. But I don't. My goodness, because he won't even take like Advil. It's nuts.
TK confirmed that that ROH is going to keep going. Also sounds like he has TV lined up already, but didn't want to announce it out of respect to Sinclair. Sinclair doesn't deserve a lot of respect, in my opinion.
No, screw Sinclair. 700,000 effing different ways.
But yeah, it's good to hear they'll be on TV, and I will be able to watch whatever they do. Let's see here. Okay, so Lord Jackson says, Jesus Christ, you two have been going for 3 hours. Get some sleep. I want you to be wide awake for whatever batshit insanity NXT does this week.
This doesn't feel long. It doesn't. To be honest, like this feels like shorter than the NXT shows.
Class Thoreau says Linda is my favorite type of person to unwittingly get trapped in a conversation with. Well, thank you, dear.
I mean, so many Lindas living in Jersey.
Shocky29 to steal Sean's line. We need Regal to yell, "Gang Wars!"
War games.
Then Marco Dominguez stole this from Twitter, but now I need Regal yelling Wardlow into a microphone at some point. He should like Wardlow. What if Wardlow was like his version of the Undertaker? For what a Teddy Long. Like tonight you must go one-on-one with Wardlow. That would be great. Mark Losper says we'll still work out a charity. Alex, good call, but all shouts to the Fightful community and especially the Sour Graps folks leaking into tonight. The vast majority of people here rule. What a nice place we've all helped create. Well done, all. We truly love this community that we have built. Thank you guys so much. And we get, because of tonight, we got to have a William Regal do something. So William Regal will now read Crush 'Em by Megadeth, because that's what AEW is doing. They're crushing the competition. Enter the arena and hit the lights. Step up now. You're in for a ride. This is war. Ain't no fun and games. We get it up. You go down in flames. Party time going down. You better not mess us around. The stakes are rich. Take a hit or stay. The price is high. Someone's going to pay. Heads I win, tails you lose. Out of my way, I'm coming through. Roll the dice. Don't think twice. And we crush 'em. War games, blood and guts, Wardlow, gang wars. Thank you very much.
You could just say like cereal, and I'm just so happy he's there. I would pop.
Thanks everybody for sticking around for 3 hours and for keeping those super chats and humper chats flowing, so Sean doesn't get
fire us.
Yeah. Kate, where can they find you, Kate?
Oh my goodness. You can find me at Miss Kate Fabe on Twitter. You can also find me tomorrow, as I said, on Joey Bag of Donuts, the Donut Bag podcast, where we'll be breaking down this pay-per-view once again. Tuesdays with this lovely fella after the NXT post show. Not usually as positive as this.
No.
Wednesdays at the Mark Order podcast, where we talk all things All Elite, and Fridays, me and Sean break down AEW Rampage and SmackDown on the post show for you after. So you can find me all them places.
Sean's gonna fire us. You were at the scrum. We were just doing stuff while you were at the scrum.
Yeah, man.
Follow me on the Twitter at Alex Sourgraps. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. It's just the last time you'll ever see us because we're being fired. Good night, everybody.